mattered most. They whispered indeed. At 8:59 a.m. aboard United Flight 175, Brian Sweeney called his wife, Julie. He told her, "Do good, go have good times. I totally love you. I'll see you again. I'll meet you up there." 4 minutes later, his plane hit the South Tower of the World Trade Center. At 9:12 a.m. aboard American Airlines Flight 77, Renee May called her mom. Just the day before, Renee had learned that she was 7 weeks pregnant, but she never got the chance to share the news. She simply said, "I love you, Mom." 25 minutes later, Renee's plane struck the Pentagon. So violent, a strike it was. At 9:53 a.m. aboard United Flight 93, Elizabeth Waineo called her stepmom. "They're getting ready to break into the cockpit. What do I do? I love you so much. They're going to break in." 10 minutes later, Flight 93 ended in the hallowed field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. At 10:25 a.m., Tom McGinnis was trapped on the 92nd floor of the North Tower when he told his wonderful wife, Elena, on the phone, "There are people jumping from the floors above us. If we get out of here, it'll be a total miracle. I love you, darling. Take care of Caitlin, beautiful daughter." 3 minutes later, the tower fell. Out of the ash, we witnessed the awesome power of that incredible love. We've seen it rise again. Out of the wreckage, we watched unbelievable courage suddenly take form. And out of the darkness, we saw the timeless truth of American character shine for the world to see. In America, we take blows, but we never buckle. We bleed, but we do not bow. And we defy the fear, endure the flames, and emerge from the crucible of every hardship stronger, prouder, and greater than ever before. Last year, we were a dead country. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. In New York, there were heroes like Chuck Costello, a 46-year-old elevator mechanic and a member of the Knights of Columbus. He selflessly ran into the World Trade Center to free people trapped in the elevators. His body was not found until the following January, deep under the debris. While going through his belongings, Chuck's widow, Mary, a phenomenal woman, discovered a personal prayer written in his own words, "Help me to light the way for those in the dark, and when I enter the darkness, let me not panic, but patiently wait to remember the light." Beautiful words. When the time came, Chuck ran boldly into the darkness of hell on earth, and now he shines in the light of heaven above. We remember him this morning. That day we learned that the American heroic spirit was all around us. We saw it in the police officers, the great firefighters, the service members here at the Pentagon, and in the hearts of every American who answered history's call. One such hero was Army Sergeant First Class Steve Workman, who was on the edge of the impact zone when this incredible Pentagon was hit. He was right there. After leading hundreds of people to escape routes, Steve turned back and plunged into the inferno itself. Pushing through the debris, he came upon a severely burned Navy lieutenant, the only survivor from the Navy Command Center. Only one. The wounded lieutenant looked into Steve's soul and said, "Don't let me die." Steve replied, "I won't. I've got you. Just hang on." He wheeled the lieutenant out of the wreckage on the back of a maintenance cart before getting in the ambulance and taking him to Walter Reed Hospital. That man Steve saved, Lieutenant Kevin Schaefer went on to join the elite team of CIA operatives who located Osama bin Laden. Steve, you're an American hero. We appreciate it. We appreciate what you've gone through. Please stand. Please stand. Where are you? Oh, good-looking man. You're a good-looking guy. You remember that day. You remember that day. Good. Thank you very much, Steve. That was something. That was something. In the years that followed, America's warriors avenged our fallen and sent an unmistakable message to every enemy around the world. If you attack the United States of America, we will hunt you down and we will find you. We'll go all over this sometimes magnificent earth. We will crush you without mercy and we will triumph without question. That's why we named the former Department of Defense the Department of War. It will be different. We won the First World War. We won the Second World War. We won everything before that and in between. And then we decided to change the name. Well, now we have it back to where we all want it. Everybody wanted it. Everybody is so happy to have it back. You will fail and America will win, win, win. The enemy will always fail. 24 years have passed since that Tuesday morning in September, and an entire generation of Americans have come of age in a totally different world. While they cannot remember the agony of that day, they are carrying on the legacy of those who lost. Around 8:30 a.m. on the morning of the attacks, Army Lieutenant Colonel Kip Taylor sent an email to his friends and family describing the joys of fatherhood and his excitement for the upcoming birth of his unborn son. He wrote, after you have kids, there are days that you just get going and you say, "Hi, honey, I'm home." What we do until that moment pales in comparison, but just that little statement, "Hi, honey," so American, so beautiful. But that's really the point of it all, isn't it? An hour after he sent that email, Flight 77 flew into Colonel Taylor's Pentagon office and claimed the life of a very proud father and true patriot. 6 weeks later, on October 25th, 2001, Colonel Taylor's son, Luke, was born. Luke then tragically lost his mom to cancer when he was just 2 years old, leaving him to be raised by his father's brother. As a young boy, Luke asked his uncle about the folded flag on the bookshelf, and when he learned about his dad's decades of devotion to the Army and the horrors of September 11th, that's when he learned. Luke carried that memory with him and joined the ROTC as a college freshman. He graduated just last year, and I'm pleased to say he is with us today as a second lieutenant and doing very well. He's rising quickly in the infantry, preparing for Army Ranger School. The spitting image of his dad, they say. Luke says that every time he puts on a uniform, he feels connected to his father and to our country. But it was a father he never knew. Luke, your parents are together in heaven, and they could not be prouder of the man that they have produced. They produced you. Those two great people produced you. Luke, please stand. Thank you. You look good, Luke. You look good. They're looking down on you. They're very proud. This morning, we recall the light of America's best and bravest and the love that they showed in their final moments. In their memory, we make a solemn pledge and a noble promise. We will honor always our great heroes, and you are our heroes. There's a group of people that don't want to talk about our heroes, but we will always talk about our heroes, and that's the way our country is, and that's the way the people feel. We will defend the nation they served, the values they upheld, and the freedom for which they died. We will support our troops, we will protect our families, and we will preserve the American way of life for every future generation. We will build taller, grow stronger, fight harder, and soar higher. And together we will go forward as one people with one heart, one fate, one flag, and one glorious destiny under Almighty God. May God bless the memories of those who died and the heroes who fought and the soldiers who still stand watch. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
That was Donald Trump there, speaking, of course, on the 25th anniversary of 9/11, and very, very movingly on what was already an incredibly moving day. He awarded a posthumous Presidential Medal of Freedom to Charlie Kirk, the highest award in the land. He talks about the unimaginable horror and the grief that so many Americans face. He said Charlie was a giant, a true independent thinker who'll be missed by millions of Americans, especially the young. So the breaking news from that. President Donald Trump awards a posthumous Presidential Medal of Freedom. Now let's get back to that assassination of Charlie Kirk. A short while ago, officials in Utah provided an update on that political assassination of American political activist Charlie Kirk, where they announced that the suspect was still at large and appeared to be of college age. They have recovered a high-powered bolt-action rifle believed to have been used in the shooting. Let's get the latest now with GBNews' national reporter, Charlie Peters. Charlie, it would seem astonishing to most people that the perpetrator, the assassin, hasn't been caught. How on earth can somebody simply go missing from a packed college campus? That's a conversation for another time. What do we know for now?
Well, Martin, I think it's a conversation for now because it's the escape route that's clearly been planned. I think we have so little information about the background of this shooter at this stage, but from the information released from the FBI in that press conference just under an hour ago, it's clear that this was a meticulously planned operation. You have the shooter being seen on the roof just 10 minutes before that fatal single shot was fired. We now know that a high-powered bolt-action rifle was used for the shooting, and that rifle has been recovered in a nearby wooded area. So it was dumped away from the campus. And while, Martin, you point to the busyness of the location with the thousands of students and others attending for the speech and the engagement and the activism that Charlie Kirk was delivering, all the attention was there, not the Losi Centre, which is on your screens right now, a building about 150 yards away from the scene of Charlie Kirk's death. And it's clear on that location, it's absolutely empty. And what we've learned from the FBI is that this shooter, a male, believed to be college age, 20 to 25, then jumped from some of those roofs that you were seeing on that footage as well and escaped soon after. We don't have a clear understanding of the route they took. Of course, we don't know where they are now, which is adding to a lot of the pressure that the FBI field office in Salt Lake City in Utah will be feeling at the moment. But what we do have also is information that the FBI has recovered some forearm imprints and also footwear prints. They didn't say where they gathered those from, but I think it's highly likely that they were from the roof of that location where the shooting took place. They'll be looking for any footage that they can to show a vehicle in which this shooter might have interacted with, because at that point then the range rings, the possible distance that person could have travelled, will expand very significantly as we are now, closing in on 24 hours since this gathering and this fatal shooting. So we're not expecting an enormous amount of information from the FBI after what we've heard in the last hour, Martin, because while we surely have plenty of information held in reserve, they'll be reticent to share that while their investigation continues. But they have said they've received more than 130 tips so far, and they're asking for the public to continue to submit photos and videos from the scene. Much of that footage that we've been playing out today, because so much of it was live streamed. Charlie Kirk being such a popular and influential activist and commentator, people were gathering to film that event. We also heard from the authorities talking that there was a suggestion that images could be released if they were unable to locate the shooter, but we understand that they're going to be using those images against facial recognition technology to get a better understanding of who this suspect is. We still don't know, Martin, I think this is the key point here, the motive behind this shooting. Who or what was the inspiration behind this devastating and evil attack, a political assassination, as it was described by the governor of Utah last night in that moving and hastily organised press conference near the scene, because there will be all sorts of speculation circulating right now about motivations possibly behind the case. But I think at this stage, all the indicators point towards this shooter being a novice, a lone actor, but we're still waiting for more information about where they had travelled after this incident, and the FBI is continuing their manhunt with a killer at large in Utah.
Charlie Peters, chilling echoes there of the same MO used in the attempted assassination on Donald Trump, a flat roof, a lone shooter, a video snatched by bystanders, and once again the FBI will be facing huge questions. We'll have much more on that story, of course, throughout the show, and today's big debate will be, are we also facing a problem with the growing threat from the radical left on British soil as well? Now, I'm joined in the studio by Richard Tice, the Deputy Leader of Reform UK, who's here to talk about the other huge breaking news story this morning. That is, of course, Peter Mandelson being sacked. But before we do that, Mr Tice, if I could get your immediate reaction to this heartbreaking assassination of Charlie Kirk.
So devastating for Charlie Kirk's family, his friends, for the United States, and the impact, the chilling impact on anybody who wants to promote free speech. And it is, it's truly shocking. All sorts of questions will come out. Nigel Farage just gave a point of order statement about Charlie Kirk in the House of Commons just after 1 o'clock, and he knew him quite well, and so just so devastating. And as you say, another single shooter from a rooftop, and in a nation that is full of guns and, sadly, these sorts of killings, lots of questions for the FBI.
Could I ask you briefly about today's topic of debate on GBNews, and that is, are we facing a similar threat on British soil? Nigel Farage compared to Adolf Hitler by John McDonnell. A Labour MP had their constituency office firebombed overnight by, we believe, pro-Palestinian protesters. Do we have a huge problem on British soil too?
We do have a problem, and I regret to say that it's the radical left and the allowance of these anti-Semitic, hateful marches since October 7th, 2023, has emboldened the radical left, and we are in a much worse place as a consequence. Other nations like France banned the marches, and it has emboldened them. If you have a vacuum, then bad people will fill it. So it's terrible for anybody in public life. You had Jeremy Clarkson, a celebrity figure himself, indicating his anxiety, and then we have, as we're just reflecting on, well, good riddance to Peter Mandelson, the idea that you could have an ambassador from the UK to the US with his track record of a long-standing friendship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein that went on for years after he'd been the subject of suspicion, been to jail, and some of the emails that came out yesterday, unbelievable. The fact that he was advising Jeffrey Epstein that his conviction jail time was an opportunity for Epstein. Just remarkable. And he said it couldn't happen in Britain. In other words, our ambassador to the US was basically saying you'd be much less likely to be caught and convicted of child sex offences in the United Kingdom.
Richard Tice, can I quickly ask you, there's a lot of criticism from the Labour benches about the vetting of reform candidates. How on earth could Peter Mandelson have not been vetted about his links to this heinous paedophile?
Well, the Prime Minister yesterday said that all processes and procedures and vetting, by implication, was carried out in the proper way. Well, it turns out, since then, that it looks like Lord Glassman actually wrote to the Prime Minister with his deep concerns about it many months ago, and that was ignored, that was overridden. So, serious questions about the Prime Minister's judgment. He stood up and defended Angela Rayner. She was gone within a couple of days. He stood up yesterday and defended Peter Mandelson. He was gone within less than 24 hours. I suspect he's quite glad there's not a PMQs next Wednesday, otherwise who else would it be?
Richard Tice, thank you very much for joining us in the studio. I know you had to dash off, you're a busy man. Thanks for your time today here on GB News. Now let's move on and speak to my next guest, and that's the Labour peer and the former Labour MP, Lord Steve McCabe. Lord McCabe, welcome to the show. The writing was on the wall for Monday, and today the writing is on the P45.
Well, I mean, I think he did have to go. I don't think there is any argument about that. Obviously, it may well be that the vetting process needs to be looked at for any future appointments, because clearly there was a gap between what the Prime Minister and the government believed was his the extent of his relationship and what has subsequently emerged. I mean, I think it's a pity in the sense that most people, even people who are not very fond of Peter Mandelson, would concede he was actually doing a pretty good job as the British ambassador in what is a very tricky time in our relationship with the United States and the President of the United States.
But Lord McCabe, there's a huge question mark over Sir Keir Starmer's judgment, surely, and the entire Labour administration, if they simply cannot vet people like this. It was well known for decades that Mandy was hobnobbing with Epstein. How on earth has this been allowed to come out after the event? Surely this should have been dug up before he was appointed.
Well, I'm not expert on this, but as I understand it, there is a kind of recognised formal vetting procedure, and that was followed. You say he was hobnobbing with Epstein. Well, I mean, I think the extent of the relationship obviously wasn't known. And of course, he's not alone in that. Bill Clinton obviously had some contact with Epstein. The current American president alleged to have had quite significant contacts as well. Epstein was someone who collected people in important positions. What was not known about Epstein was his other life at the time by most of these people.
Lord McCabe, can I interject? I've just been sent a line from Guido Fawkes. They're breaking the story. They're claiming that Number 10 repeatedly ignored warnings about Peter Mandelson. It was flagged that this could be an issue, and that was overridden. Seemingly the temptation to hire Mandy was simply too great. If that's true, that's a terrible admission.
Well, if that's accurate, I'd like to hear more about it. It's clearly not what I understood. I, as I said to you, understood it to be the case that there's a fairly well-recognised formula procedure for vetting, and I understood it had been followed. So, you know, that's news to me, and it would be very regrettable if that were true, because obviously, you know, that was a massive missed opportunity if that's the case. But, you know, I don't know if that's true.
OK, well, the plot thickens. But thank you for joining us on the show, giving us your thoughts. I sincerely mean that. It's a pleasure to have your company, as ever, Lord Steve McCabe. Now, coming up on an action-packed show, we're getting all the very latest reaction to the assassination of US political activist Charlie Kirk and the latest on the ongoing manhunt for the killer in Utah. You're with me, Martin Daubney, on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time is 3:26. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, officials in Utah provided an update on the political assassination of the American political activist Charlie Kirk, where they announced that the suspect was still at large, but appeared to be a man of college age. And they've recovered a high-powered bolt-action rifle believed to have been used in the shooting. And I'm joined in the studio by the barrister and writer Stephen Barrett. Stephen, it's a pleasure to have your company. It's a terrible shame it's under such heartbreaking circumstances. Of course, I'd like your thoughts on Charlie's assassination, but I also want to put a bigger question to you, and that is Donald Trump has identified the radicalised left, always comparing their political opponents to Nazis. And I want to ask you, do you think we've got a same problem, a big problem, coming to us on British soil?
Yes, and I think this is a time to pause and to wake up. 2 young children woke up this morning in the United States without a father. A wife woke up without a husband. This is deeply, deeply tragic. And his only sin was saying things which the far left don't like. And I am absolutely fed up of the so-called centre left. I'm not really sure. I'm convinced that there is a centrist left. I think that they're probably just Fabian Marxists and that the far left are just pure Marxists. But they seem to have unleashed black-clad, masked-up, angry children in our society too. And we see across the West, where all of these people have been in power for far too long, we see black-clad, masked-up, angry young people. Now, we don't know the identity of the killer, but it's not irrational to work on that basis. And we need to start talking about the fear of the far left. We need to start saying things like, I'm worried about Nigel Farage. Because, you know, we cannot have this here. And it's deeply unfortunate for the Americans. that this has happened, but it is a wake-up call to the entire world. It could so easily have been here. You know, we are not immune to this extreme anger. What they've done. It's so ironic that they bang on about racism all of the time, because racism, the evil of it is that it others people. Racism does it on the basis of their skin colour. But you take a whole bunch of human beings and you basically make them subhuman. And that's what they've done to the right. OK, let's talk about this openly now. They have othered the right. And if you dare to have opposing views to what the lefties and what the Marxists think, it doesn't matter that your motive... I mean, my motivation in my political views is what I assume everybody else's motives is, which is good wishes for the country and a desire to live in a happy, successful nation. But none of that matters. If you are vaguely right of centre, you are othered. And this othering, it's not language. They're so brittle. They think that a tweet can cause a riot, which is just complete nonsense. It's not language, it's the culture. It's the culture of othering. The culture of making right-leaning people other means that they can be openly mocked on social media. It means that some who wish to go further can cancel them. And it means that some on the left who wish to go further can physically attack them. What they have done is legitimated violence against their political opponents. And they've been doing it for decades, and it absolutely needs to stop. I mean, you know that I'm a great Tolkienist and obsessive with Tolkien, but Tolkien has a poem where he talks in the beginning, and it is a genuine Anglo-Saxon poem. Where have all the good days gone, Martin? Where have our joys days? Because you and I have lived through them. But those days seem to have gone now, and with this moment, it feels like the sun is going down in the west, and our days are passing into shadow. What is tomorrow going to bring? What is it going to be like? Is there going to be another assassination attempt on President Trump? Where are we going? How did our society get here? Now is the time to push back. And we must seize cultural and political control from the left, because they simply have no ideas. I mean, to put a friend of a paedophile in as ambassador to Washington proves that you have no clue what you're doing. OK? There's just a government that was absolutely out of ideas before it even got into office. Because for 30 years, we've had the same political policies, the same so-called centrist lefty policies, and this is where you get to. This is the world that they create. It's not a communist utopia, is it? It's a dystopia with violence and political aggression against opponents, and I don't want to live in it.
Now, of course, the Labour Party would say they don't subscribe to any of that. They wouldn't say that they encourage or legitimise violence. They absolutely would push back against that. In fact, Sir Keir Starmer did pass his condolences on to Charlie Kirk and his family. But I would also point out that John McDonnell yesterday at the TUC conference in Brighton compared Nigel Farage to Adolf Hitler. That's precisely what you're talking about.
Yes, that's precisely what I'm talking about. When a Labour MP called for the lynching of Esther McVey, that's precisely what I'm talking about. When the former Deputy Prime Minister calls Tories scum, that's precisely what I'm talking about. And they can all sit there in a cocoon saying, well, we don't condone this extreme leftiness, we don't condone the far left. But you are empowering and enabling it by allowing this otheringness. You know, and that's not, and I won't damn everybody on the left ever. And I think you referenced Lord Glassman earlier, who's a hero of a man and a titanic figure on the left. And you and I both got friends who are committed to the left. So this is not all the left. But this is a political philosophy which allows the othering of your political opponents. And othering leads to violence. It legitimates violence. If you allow racism, eventually you will get violent racism. And if you allow sectarianism in politics, which is what this is, then eventually you will get violence in politics. And how can that lead to two little children waking up without a dad this morning?
Stephen Barrett, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. Appreciate it. Lots more still to come between now and 4 o'clock. I will speak to a women's campaigner regularly hounded by those trans activists and getting routine death threats, to ask whether the UK also faces the growing menace of the radical left. But first, here's your latest news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you very much. The top stories: the FBI say a weapon has now been found, but Charlie Kirk's killer is still at large. The 30-year-old conservative activist was shot while giving a talk at Utah Valley University. Eyewitnesses say a figure on a rooftop fired a single round, hitting him in the neck. Today marks the anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks that shocked the world. Vigils have been held across the globe, including in the US and the UK, to remember the victims and heroes from that fatal day. Donald Trump gave an address this afternoon.
May God bless the memories of those who died and the heroes who fought and the soldiers who still stand watch. May God bless the United States of America.
Lord Mandelson has been sacked as Britain's ambassador to the United States after emails revealed the true depth of his relationship with paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. And Labour's deputy leadership race has narrowed again, with Dame Emily Thornberry pulling out after failing to gain enough support. Her withdrawal comes just a day after Alison McGovern dropped out, leaving 4 candidates still in the running. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Tune into GB News Radio wherever you are, online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Afternoon, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's more of the same for the next few days. There'll be some sunshine, but there will also be plenty of heavy showers around before some heavy rain and strong winds spread across the country on Sunday. Quite wet and windy today across the northwest of Scotland. The wet weather continuing here. Elsewhere, the showers have been more off and on, but we'll keep some feeding into western parts through the night. Much of the Midlands and eastern England will become dry overnight with lengthy clear spells. The wind's easing just a touch as well, which will allow those temperatures to dip down into single figures. A fresh start to Friday across the Midlands and eastern England, though plenty of sunshine. Further west, well, you might wake up to some sunshine, but the showers are never too far away, and still fairly thick clouds sitting over the Highlands, the Western Isles and the Northern Isles, with further outbreaks of rain here. Still windy, but not quite as windy as today. A gusty breeze blowing elsewhere that'll bring the showers through Northern Ireland. Probably a dry, fine start, though, in Belfast. Maybe across parts of East Wales as well, but certainly West Wales, Western England already having those showers in the morning. And after a sunny start, we'll see the clouds bubbling up over the Midlands, Eastern England, and showers developing here, probably by late morning onwards. The showers, like today, will be heavy, perhaps even turn into thunderstorms, but they should move through because there's enough of a breeze. So that mix of sunshine and downpours through the afternoon. When the sun's out, temperatures getting into the high teens, but feeling cooler with the breeze, and certainly those temperatures will drop when the showers come along. Heading out on Friday evening, well, be prepared for further heavy downpours, a lot of spray and surface water on the roads as well as the showers continue. They should start to ease through Friday nights, but we've still got low pressure, we've still got plenty of showers coming in for Saturday. And then for Sunday, eyes on this deepening area of low pressure approaching. That's going to bring a spell of heavy rain, but also, especially later today, some strong winds. There's a Met Office yellow warning in place.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBnews.com. Road users should exercise caution when crossing the A9 Dornoch Bridge due to high winds. On the A1M northbound, a broken down vehicle is affecting access at junction 35. In Cumbria, the M6 northbound at junction 37 is closed due to a vehicle fire, with resolution expected by 6:15 this evening. A road incident on the A30 westbound in Cornwall has resulted in lane closures between the junctions with the A3047 Redruth West and Cambourne East, with normal conditions expected by 5:45. And on the trains, Northern has buses replacing trains between Corkickle and Whitehaven. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Welcome back. Time's 3:37. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, brace yourselves. It's time for our latest Great British Giveaway now. And it's our biggest ever prize to date, worth over 100 grand. It includes a 4-berth motorhome worth over 74 grand and a £30,000 tax-free dollar ball on top. Here's how you could win the lot.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, officials in Utah provided an update on the political assassination of American political activist Charlie Kirk, but they announced that the suspect was still at large and appeared to be of college age. They have recovered a high-powered bolt-action rifle believed to have been used in the shooting, and the US President Donald Trump has been quick to blame the so-called radical left for the shooting. But is he right? Well, I'm delighted to be joined by my next guest now. That's a women's rights activist, Kelly J. Keane. Kelly J., it's a delight to have your company as ever. Also, a.k.a. Posey Parker. Kelly, before we talk about the threat of the radical left on British soil, something I know which is a huge concern for you, what are your thoughts on the grotesque assassination of Charlie Kirk?
It's just unimaginable. It's so terribly sad, and my heart goes out to his wife, his small children, all his family and loved ones, and I think he'll leave a huge hole in United States and global politics.
And Kelly J, back to British soil now. Anybody who sees your actions on social media knows that you are routinely hounded by men in masks. You've launched the Let Women Speak movement. They simply won't let you speak. And I have to ask you, do you think that this radical leftism is becoming a huge problem on Britain, and could it have tragic consequences?
Yeah, 100%. It will have tragic consequences. I mean, it already has. I really did think I was going to lose my life in New Zealand back in March 2023. And it stops women coming. So it's already got a very chilling effect on how women feel about coming out to speak at my events. Many of them don't feel they can. And I think what underpins all this is, I mean, I probably would consider myself on the right now. I didn't used to. I was a bit sort of in the middle somewhere. But I think the people on the right think the people on the left are wrong. And they want to convince the people on the left to come over to our side of the argument, which is like Charlie Kirk exemplified that. He created the going into college campuses to have this respectful dialogue. And what the people on the left want is they want to destroy the people on the right who don't agree with them. They don't want to just persuade people that they're wrong. They want to destroy, cancel, and wound and kill. That's the extremity, I think, where we are right now with the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
And yet, Kelly J, all we seem to hear about is the far right. The government seems to be obsessed with the far right. The Prime Minister is obsessed with the far right. The mainstream media is obsessed with the far right. They seem to have a total blind spot for the far left. Why?
Well, this whole far right thing is a kind of, you're asking for it, isn't it? Like, I had the police out, it must be 2019, I think was the first time I called the police. Someone had a website. They've published photographs of my children where they went to school. I had to have emergency meetings with the school to make sure that if anybody came to collect the children, that they were really sort of vigilant, that only I would collect the children and so on. And I had the police round at that time, and the police basically said, well, you do say bad things online. It's that's just where we are. And you see government after government come out and say the worst thing that's happening to this country is the far right. And we know that that's not true. And I think it's about time that we prescribed Antifa as a terrorist organization, because I think they are. I think they terrify women not to come out. Their whole purpose is to terrify people. If that's not terrorism, I don't know what is. This is an act of terrorism, clearly. A very public assassination of a political figure is a terrorist act. And I think it's about time we just said, right, that's enough. You know, we see the police go out when they're looking at people outside of maybe the hotel in Epping, and there's a no mask and you're not allowed to wear a mask. You have to be identified. And the police are really heavy-handed. And when they come to my events where there are masked men who want to terrify women, intimidate us, threats of violence, signs like decapitate TERFs, the police treat them like there's two equal sides. That middle-aged women, predominantly middle-aged women who come to my events, are exactly the same as the violent, aggressive men who want to come out and stop us speaking. And it's just preposterous.
And Kelly J, it's really important to point out to GB News viewers that all you've been saying since the beginning is that a woman is an adult human female is actually now the position of the Supreme Court. You haven't been saying anything grotesquely outlandish. You've been backing up biological science, which has been replaced by a belief system. And that's the point. The belief system is now so ingrained, so angry, they're getting onto the point where you're feeling like your life could be in danger.
Well, I mean, it was. I really didn't. I had a moment in New Zealand where I got mobbed. And there was a huge mob and the police failed to protect us. They were supposed to be there. And I genuinely thought, as I was falling to the floor, if I get to the floor, I'm never getting up. I'm just, you know, that's it, game over. And so I really have been there. And I don't think this country takes it very seriously. You know, we had, after Nigel Farage had a milkshake thrown on him, he had no idea what it was as that was launched into his face. We had people laughing about it. They thought it was hilarious that he had a milkshake poured on him. And I think we've been heading towards this place for a really long time. And we either take it seriously now or we'll all be scratching our heads wondering how it happened. And Keir Starmer came out with something today about Charlie Kirk. And I just want to remind that man, you are governing over a country where people are getting arrested for words. And I'm afraid that we have lost trust in anything that he says, and it's about time action was taken. So we need fast action about what the police are allowed to police and how they police, and we need to return back to without fear or favour. And so, you know, it's a real shame that this has had to happen, but if we don't learn lessons from it, then it would be absolutely more than shameful. And I just want to also add, the people on the left, like there's some discussion about we don't know who's done this, or I'll tell you what we know. We know that in the aftermath of that man, when his body was not cold, where he was shot in front of his wife and children, we know that there were people on the left celebrating. Like that, what a sociopathic, demented response. And we should all be very, very afraid.
OK, we have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us. I find it quite hard to stay straight-faced today. Kelly J. Keane, thank you. Now, if there's some holiday sun this year, then here is the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Northern parts of Europe will see any heavy downpours and thunderstorms easing away, though some light showers remaining in places. That's away from Spain and Portugal, though. High pressure dominating, so largely settled here. Plenty of sunshine, though we could see some occasional showers affecting Barcelona. Also some showers across northern parts of Italy, Switzerland and also Austria. But elsewhere across Italy, the Adriatic coastline and across Greece, plenty of sunshine to come. That theme continuing as we head into next week, and temperatures widely in the mid to high 20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Today's some joyous news. We're all very happy around the GB News studios, and that is because Emily Carver and Patrick Christie's have announced the birth of their baby son.
Yes, and what a name it is. George Alexander Peter Christie's was born at 5:26 a.m. on Friday morning. Both mother and baby are doing well, and I think he's a baby Patrick. He's a mini Patrick. Look at his little face.
Yeah.
So cute. It's lovely news, isn't it?
Oh,
And a lovely name.
It's got a lot of names.
It's a long name.
4 names, but a solid, strong name. George Alexander Peter Christie.
How many middle names have you got?
Huh?
How many middle names have you got?
None.
Have you not got any middle names?
I'm playing Eamon Holmes.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Ellie, have you got
Do you not
middle
have a
names?
confirmation name? One you threw in yourself?
Well, I do. You did have.
I've got one. May.
Oh, have you?
What?
M-A-E. May.
Oh, right.
That's different. I had an Aunt May.
Yeah. It's an Irish name, isn't it? Yeah. What about you? What have you got?
Michael.
Very
Paul
nice. very
Michael,
strong.
which I was very excited about because it's like Paul Michael Glaser and Starsky and Hutch. So I used to run around thinking, yeah, it's not bad, is it?
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, my youngest son, Patrick and Emily's child is Alexander is his second name, and my son has this name Alexander. Well, it was supposed to be his main name, but then my wife on her birthbed realised, she said, "You wouldn't be calling this child after some football manager, would you?"
She clocked on.
And I what? So she wouldn't allow Alexander to be his main
You were
name.
rumbled.
Was it named after a certain football manager?
It was indeed.
Okay, right.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing. That's funny.
Didn't get anywhere with that, but there we go.
Nice try, though.
Maybe you could get a boy dog.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Your time's 10 to 4, and a short while ago, officials in Utah provided an update on the political assassination of the American political activist Charlie Kirk, where they announced that the suspect was still at large and appeared to be of college age. They also recovered a high-powered bolt-action rifle believed to have been used at the shooting. We can now speak with the Professor of International Politics at the University of Birmingham, David Dunn. David Dunn, welcome to the show. Pleasure to have your company. Donald Trump was quick to put the blame here with the radical left, saying wonderful Americans like Charlie Kirk have been called Nazis, and that has turned them into targets. Does he have a point?
Well, he may have a point, but two things to point out, really. The first is that we don't know the motivation of the shooter, Mr. Kirk had enemies across the spectrum. He was also hated by the extreme right, as well as from the left. So the first point. The second point is that it's not just people on the right who are the subject of political violence. Earlier this year in Minnesota, a state senator and her husband, who are Democrats, were murdered for their political views. Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked with a hammer recently in America, in San Francisco. There is an increase in political violence, which has heightened in the last 6 months. It's heightened in the last 2 years. And it's heightened really actually since Donald Trump came on the scene.
Here we go. David done a spectacular entree course of whataboutery there. Let's get back to the point. We have a political activist. Listen to me. We have a political activist from the right who's been assassinated. He had his throat blown out in broad daylight. Don't start doing the whataboutery. Let's look at the incredible abuse people from the political right get from the political left, and why do we have such a problem? Is it because perhaps at universities they've been radicalised?
Well, Martin, you didn't interrupt Kelly, and I'd appreciate if you didn't interrupt me mid-sentence. Actually, if I'm going to come on your programme, you have to allow me to speak in order to get my point of view across, OK?
Go on, then.
I'm making the point that to give some balance to your unbalanced reporting so far, that actually there is a wider point about political violence being on the increase and it being on the left and the right. To focus exclusively on the left is to miss half the picture. Is that really what you want to do?
OK, so an MP in Sunderland had their office firebombed overnight, and the graffiti on the wall seems to point to the fact it was a pro-Palestinian protest. And we're seeing an increasing amount, that's the radical left, not only going for the right, but going for the Labour Party as well. We're obsessed with the far right in Britain. Back on British soil, you have to admit, the growing problem appears to be the radical left.
I think there are problems on both sides. I mean, Joe Cox was murdered by a radical right person. Often the MPs are targeted for their views, and it's a real problem that we have an increase in political violence, without question. But it's not exclusively a left-wing problem. That's the point I'm making.
Not exclusively a left-wing problem, but the trend, the direction of travel appears to be search. And it's got to the point now where people are being, Donald Trump, they tried to kill him. Charlie Kirk, they succeeded in killing him. There's a trend going on here, and people like yourselves and people like in the mainstream media in America don't like to talk about this because it upsets the apple cart. Look at the murder of the Ukrainian woman by a career criminal, a black man in North Carolina. That's something that the left don't like to talk about as well. Is that because the truth seems to be upsetting the narrative?
Well, again, if we talk about truth, so Donald Trump's talking about sending the army into Chicago, highlighting the violence there. But actually, Chicago is not the most violent city. So Jackson in Mississippi, St. Louis, Birmingham, Alabama, they are the most violent city in terms of the actual numbers, if you look at the numbers, but they are Republican-controlled cities. So what Trump's doing is pointing only to Democrat-controlled cities as if they're the only source of the problem. The issue is more nuanced than that, than what is being talked about here. The trend is towards political violence, but it's on both sides.
But particularly amongst young people, this happened on a campus and it looks like the perpetrator is of college age. Particularly amongst young people, it's an issue with the radical left, trans ideology, the calling of those from the right, Hitler, Nazis. That's the direction of travel amongst young people. Put it to you again, you're a professor on university campus. Are universities part of the problem?
I don't think so. I mean, we have those voices on campus, but they are a tiny minority. Most of our students are there to actually study and to enjoy the freedoms of being a student and that passage to adulthood. They're not engaged in radical politics of the left or the right. So again, we can overemphasize just what a proportion of the population is involved in that. But to go back to your other point, Mark Rowley, the Metropolitan Police Commissioner, has talked about actually the biggest threat of terrorism in the UK and political violence as coming from extreme right-wing organisations.
That isn't the case, David Dunn. It's Islamist terror. You simply aren't true there. Look, we have to leave it there. We'll run out of time, David Dunn.
It depends on
look at the facts. It's the Islamist right, the biggest problem. Much more coming after the news. Sorry, we have to go.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Motorists should exercise caution on the A9 Dornoch Bridge due to high winds impacting driving conditions. An accident on the A30 westbound between the A3047 Redruth West and the A3047 Cambourne East has closed one lane. In Buckinghamshire, the M25 anti-clockwise between junction 16 and junction 15 has severe traffic with 3 of 4 lanes closed due to a vehicle fire. Expect significant delays. And on the trains, there are no trains at Great Northern's Old Street. Disruptions between Manchester Victoria and Rochdale or Hebden Bridge. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 4 p.m. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News. We're broadcasting for you live from the UK, across the UK, with all the very latest news, debate and analysis until 6 p.m. And here's what's coming up on today's show. The American political activist and key ally of Donald Trump, Charlie Kirk, has been killed in what has been described as a political assassination whilst he was debating university students. The 31-year-old, often described as the de facto leader of the MAGA youth movement, was shot by a gunman at Utah Valley University as he discussed mass shootings committed by trans people. And the manhunt for the suspected assassin continues, with speculation online that an individual dressed in black on the roof of a nearby building could be the person the FBI and law enforcement are continuing their search for, with officials suggesting the suspect could be of college age. We'll bring you right up to date throughout the show. And as John McDonnell compares Nigel Farage to Adolf Hitler, and last night a Labour MP's office was firebombed, does the UK also face the growing menace of the radical left? I'll be joined by a former government advisor on extremism, a women's rights campaigner and a free speech warrior who claims Charlie Kirk's murder will be a tragedy for all of us in ways we will only understand as time unfolds. And just yesterday at PMQ, Sir Keir Starmer said this about Peter Mandelson.
The relationship between the US and the UK is one of our foremost relationships, and I have confidence in the ambassador in the role that he is doing.
Well, less than 24 hours after having full confidence in Mandelson, the US ambassador was sacked for his tangled relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. How did Mandy get through vetting? And just 6 days after Angela Rayner got the boot, does this cast serious doubt over Sir Keir Starmer's judgment? And on today's show, I'll speak with the President of Israel. He reportedly clashed with Sir Keir Starmer during a tough meeting in Downing Street yesterday. Has Britain become hostile to Israel, or seemingly taking sides with Palestine? And that's all coming throughout the rest of today's show. welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. As the assassination of Charlie Kirk dominates the global news sector, we're also asking the question today, do we have a growing problem with the radical left here on British soil? So far today, I've spoken with a number of guests who say that is the thing that's happening. And we don't want a political tragedy on our shore. Do you think we've got a growing problem with the radical left? Please get in touch. GBNews.com/your say is the way to do so. But now it's time for your headlines. And here's Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you very much and good afternoon. The top stories. The FBI say a weapon has been found, but Charlie Kirk's killer still is at large. The force says it's found a high-powered rifle. The 30-year-old conservative activist was shot while giving a talk at Utah Valley University. Eyewitnesses say a figure on the rooftop fired a single round, hitting him in the neck. Kirk was rushed to hospital by his security team, but 2 hours later, the US president announced Kirk had died of his injuries. Former presidents and world leaders have condemned the killing, with Sir Keir Starmer calling it heartbreaking and insisting political debate must never descend into violence. In other news today marks the anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks that shocked the world. Vigils have been held across the globe, including in the US and the UK, to remember the victims and heroes from that fatal day. US President Donald Trump addressed a memorial service in Arlington to mark the day.
We will support our troops, we will protect our families, and we will preserve the American way of life for every future generation. We will build taller, grow stronger, fight harder, and soar higher. And together we will go forward as one people with one heart, one fate, one flag, and one glorious destiny under Almighty God. May God bless the memories of those who died and the heroes who fought, and the soldiers who still stand watch. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
GB News' political editor Christopher Hope spoke to the US ambassador to the UK, Warren Stevens, to mark the tragic day, and they also spoke about the Charlie Kirk assassination and what it means for freedom of speech.
We have to be ever vigilant. There are clearly people in the world who don't like America, don't like the West, don't like our ideals, and they want to do us serious harm. And so we just have to be on guard all the time about that. And I think, you know, that's something I've learned. Not something I've learned, but I've learned since I've been here, is how closely our intelligence agencies work together. It's really, really impressive and essential. I think the political rhetoric ought to be dialed down everywhere. I knew Charlie, and if we're not going to be allowed to debate ideas on a college campus openly and freely, then where are we going to be able to do that? And so Harriet and I feel for his family, his now widow, and their 2 children and his whole family. It's just a senseless killing.
Lord Mandelson has been sacked as Britain's ambassador to the United States after emails revealed the true depth of his relationship with paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. Comes just days after the ambassador himself admitted further embarrassing emails were likely to emerge, including one in which he called Epstein his best pal. The Foreign Office says the correspondence was materially different to what was known when he was appointed. Sir Keir Starmer told MPs yesterday he still had confidence in Mandelson, but today in the comments his withdrawal was confirmed. The decision follows growing outrage across Westminster, with Health Secretary Wes Streeting calling the messages disgusting and Home Office Minister Mike Tapp describing them as sickening. After pressing the government with an urgent question, Tory MP Neil O'Brien said Mandelson's removal was the only possible outcome.
This is yet another extraordinary error of judgment by this weak Prime Minister. And I pay tribute to the Leader of the Opposition for yesterday securing justice for the victims of Epstein. This raises massive questions. It is not just that Peter Mandelson said that Epstein was his best pal and that he loved him. It wasn't just that he brokered a deal for him while he was business secretary. We now, of course, know that he was working for Epstein's early release after he was convicted.
And finally, Labour's deputy leadership race has narrowed again, with Dame Emily Thornberry pulling out after failing to gain enough support. Her withdrawal comes just a day after Alison McGovern dropped out, leaving 4 candidates still in the running. They include the Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson, former Commons leader Lucy Powell, Clapham MP Belle Ribeiro Addy and Paula Barker, the ex-Shadow Housing Minister. The contest was triggered by Angela Rayner's resignation last week over her tax affairs. Those are the latest headlines for now. More in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound buying you $1.3560 and €1.1552. The price of gold, £2,675.59 per ounce. And the FTSE 100's at 9,283 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Thank you, Tatiana. We've got some astonishing breaking news for you now. A short while ago, officials in Utah provided an update on the political assassination of the American political activist Charlie Kirk, where they announced that the suspect was still at large and appeared to be of college age. They've recovered a high-powered rifle believed to have been used in the shooting, and our man Charlie Peters has got fresh information. Charlie, this is astonishing. Tell us more.
Martin, the sources in American media are citing claims that the bullets and the cartridge recovered at the woodland where the rifle was found near the shooting, that those bullets had engravings with transgender and anti-fascist ideology on those rounds. Those are sources in federal law enforcement speaking to the Wall Street Journal in the United States and other media in the US picking up on these claims. They've cited an internal law enforcement bulletin which claims to have details about the intelligence gathering process after this dramatic shooting, which claims that the bullets had the ammunition inside the rifle engraved with messages of transgender and anti-fascist ideology. We already know from claims by the Utah Department of Public Safety, Bo Mason, the commissioner there, that the suspect appears to be of college age and blended in with students on campus. We know that they fled immediately after that shooting from that building you're seeing now, the Low-C Centre, 150 yards away from where Charlie Kirk was shot in the neck. But we hadn't had any information about the motive, the potential motive behind this shooting. And we all assumed that the FBI were keeping some details away from the public when they made that update at 2 p.m. our time just a couple of hours ago. And it appears that this is one of those key pieces of information leaked now into the American media, that the cartridge and ammunition inside the rifle, the bolt-action rifle, believed to be an old hunting rifle recovered in the wooded area nearby, was engraved with messages of transgender and anti-fascist ideology. Now, Martin, those have not been publicly confirmed by the FBI or the ATF. Now, the ATF is the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives. It's a federal intelligence and law enforcement agency in the United States. It will be central to any efforts in the laboratory in terms of doing material exploitation analysis of that rifle and the ammunition inside it and any cartridges involved. They're likely to take apart the whole rifle to scour every inch to find more information about it. But that visible information that they apparently have of the ammunition being engraved with messages of transgender and anti-fascist ideology will direct them immediately to one particular potential motive. And it's worth noting, Martin, that when Charlie Kirk was speaking to thousands of students at Utah Valley University in the moments just before he was fatally shot, he was talking about the trend of transgender mass shooters in the United States, with the country experiencing and enduring a shooting of some children praying only in the last month by a reported transgender shooter who was also killed at the scene of that shooting. So it is a live topic of debate and discussion in the United States. And so Charlie Kirk was answering a question about mass shootings and referring to the apparent trend of transgender mass shootings around the time that he was shot. And Now we are learning, according to law enforcement sources sent to the ATF, that federal bureau in the United States, reported by the Wall Street Journal, that the ammunition found on the rifle in that wooded area contained transgender and anti-fascist ideology engraved onto that ammunition. It's a .30 caliber hunting rifle, we understand, Martin, and based on preliminary analysis that we've taken at GB News and through speaking to marksman sources, military sources, security sources about the matter, they also believed it was a bolt-action rifle. That information now confirmed, but we'll still wait for official confirmation about this transgender and anti-fascist ideology being engraved onto the ammunition at the rifle associated with the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Peters, incredible breaking news line. Of course, this assassin still at large, able to simply run away, still hasn't been apprehended by the FBI, and that incredible breaking news there, the ammunition engraved with pro-trans and anti-fascist engravings. Astonishing stuff. Thank you very, very much for bringing us up to speed there, Charlie Peters. And let's get the reaction now from my next guest. That's the political commentator and the author and the co-host of the Trigonometry podcast, Konstantin Kisin. Konstantin, welcome to the show. I got you on because I thought you sent out such a moving message where you think tonight feels like some sort of invisible line has been crossed and we will never be the same again. You compared the assassination of Charlie Kirk to 9/11. But before we get to that, can I get your immediate reaction to what appears to be firm evidence now, if this bears up, that this indeed was a politically motivated assassination with somebody clearly from the radical left?
Well, this has been sent to me prior to us coming on air, Martin, so I was aware of these. I would much prefer to wait for ultimate confirmation because we do not yet know the veracity of these reports. But I don't think any of us would be surprised, would we, if this assassination was committed by someone who was on the radical left. Until that is confirmed, I don't think we should go too far with the analysis of it. But as I say, I think in recent weeks and months, we have seen a spate of violence committed by transgender identifying individuals in the US. It will, of course, raise questions about mental illness and guns and the mental illness and transgenderism. I think that's a conversation that obviously will be a huge part of this. But if he was in fact killed in this way, then we know what you've been saying throughout the program, which was this was almost certainly a political assassination. And that's why, while I didn't compare the assassination to 9/11, I certainly, what I was trying to say in my post was that the way I feel this will likely change our culture and change the way that we live our lives will have an impact that might be as significant as what happened after 9/11. When, if you remember, those of us who are old enough to have been alive and adults at the time, the world changed in an irreversible way. And I think the impact of what's happened here, of course, first and foremost, our thoughts should be with Charlie's family, his beautiful young children, his wife who've lost a father and a husband. But beyond that, I think the impact on the United States and the West more broadly will be, among other things, a chilling effect on our public debate. Because if people aren't familiar with Charlie's work, this was a guy who went around university campuses in America and talked to people. That is what he did. He debated people. He mobilized young people to get involved in politics. His organization was obviously pivotal in bringing the youth vote out for the Trump ticket in several elections now. But ultimately, at his core, he was a guy who believed in the things that we believe in: free speech, open debate. And if he was killed because of that, I think the impact on the way we do the business of politics and we debate our culture will be profound, and I fear very, very negative.
And Konstantin, just to confirm, the reports of the transgender engraving, it's been confirmed by the Wall Street Journal, hardly renowned for being an extreme journal, and also that is citing an ATF intelligence report. So it seems to have a good degree of veracity. It's a firm claim there. But moving on to today's topic of discussion on GB News, do you think we could see radical leftism becoming a serious problem on our soil? We've already seen John McDonnell comparing Nigel Farage to Adolf Hitler. We've seen the firebombing of a parliamentarian's office overnight. We seem to have a growing threat. Nobody wants it to precipitate something as grotesque as an assassination in Britain.
Well, of course, and look, I think the radical left is obviously a potential source of these threats, but it's not exclusive to it. We saw the murder of Sir David Ames by an Islamist. We saw the murder of Joe Cox by someone who was a neo-Nazi. We have seen that violence is becoming increasingly part of our political life, and I think that's a tragedy, particularly for Britain, which is a country that is famous the world over for the civility and peacefulness of its public debate, its public discourse, its public life. And that's something that I think we must cling to with all the force that we possibly can. But I think the one thing we should be honest about transatlantically, actually, is, you know, there is a sense in which my big concern has been for many years, as you well know, Martin, that the rhetoric from the left has been so deranged. And you mentioned comparing Nigel Farage to Adolf Hitler, but we've had David Lammy compare a bunch of Eurosceptic conservative MPs to the Nazis and saying they're worse than the Nazis. And this whole idea that, you know, the left, the commentators on the left are so morally virtuous that they're entitled to do the worst things and to compare their political opponents to the worst things in the history of the world. I just think it's outrageous. And of course it creates a risk, because if you think about it, if you and I thought, no, I think we're two people who believe in this country and want it to thrive and succeed. If you thought that this country was about to overrun by actual Nazis, would it not be your duty to do everything you could to defend this country against that? So when you have these left-wing radicals banging on endlessly about Nazis, 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 of course there are going to be some mentally disturbed people in particular who are going to take that narrative to heart and do all sorts of crazy, evil things in response to that. That's why the rhetoric must be dialed down, and that's why people have to be responsible with their language, particularly when they have large audience and particularly when they're politicians in this country.
And Konstantin, could I get my final question on young people? Charlie Kirk, of course, made his name on campuses, taking on leftism. His life was ended on a campus doing precisely that. He generated millions of votes for Donald Trump because of his popularity doing so. It appears he was assassinated by somebody of college age on a campus. What's gone wrong with young people's minds? Where are they learning this cancer from?
Well, it's something that I've been talking about for a very long time. If you teach people stupid, wrong, evil ideas like words of violence, and they begin to think that disagreement and being challenged and someone saying something you don't like and even saying something that you personally find offensive, if you begin to equate that with violence, the inevitable consequence of that will be that people believe that you are being violent towards them, therefore they're entitled to be violent in return. And this is not the first time this has happened. We have seen, for example, the assassination of a healthcare company executive in the United States by Luigi Mangione, which was celebrated by lots and lots of people on the radical left in particular, and beyond that in America. And I think young people have been badly misled by their educators, by their parents, etc., who failed to teach them the difference between what we pride ourselves on in the West, which is civil discourse, robust debate, robust disagreement, and everything from throwing milkshakes at people to shooting them in the neck because you don't agree with them. And this is the one thing that too many people have been absolutely cowardly and weak on in this country. When people throw milkshakes at people in the street, that is not an isolated incident. We are on the path, on the slippery slope to more violence. And the people who attack our public figures in this way, whether they're left, center, or right, should be cracked down on very, very, very hard. Otherwise, we will keep having the assassinations of people like Joe Cox and David Ames and other people in this country being attacked in this way. It's completely unacceptable, and we must step back from this terrible, terrible brink.
Konstantin Kisin, thank you very much for giving that thoughtful analysis. I truly appreciate your time today here on GB News. Thank you as ever. Coming up just yesterday at PMQs, Keir Starmer said this about Peter Mandelson.
The relationship between the US and the UK is one of our foremost relationships, and I have confidence in the ambassador in the role that he is doing.
Well, less than 24 hours after that full confidence motion, the US ambassador was sacked for his tangled relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Here's the big question. Does this cast serious doubt over Sir Keir Starmer's judgment? That's next. This is GB News, Britain's News Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. It's 4:25 now. Sir Keir Starmer has sacked Peter Mandelson as the UK's ambassador to the United States over his links to the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Now it comes less than a week after Labour's deputy leader Angela Rayner resigned, and is yet another huge blow for the Prime Minister, just 5 days before Donald Trump arrives in the country for that state visit. Well, James Roscoe will be the interim UK ambassador to the United States, we've just learned. And it was confirmed at a Downing Street's briefing that the Foreign Secretary and Prime Minister agreed Mandelson had to go earlier on today. Well, I'm joined in the studio by GB News political editor Christopher Hope and the editorial director at Guido Fawkes and formerly of GB News Parish, Adam Cherry. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Chris, quite simply, the writing was on the wall, and today the writing is on the P45.
It seems that way, and it seemed obvious since Monday night when that first birthday album emerged with long pages of messages from Peter Mandelson to his old friend Jeffrey Epstein. Now he's gone, it's turning into what did the government know, what warnings were ignored, and is that a judgment call wrongly made by the Prime Minister? Now, on Chopper's political podcast out tomorrow, we've talked to Lord Glassman, the father of Blue Labour, and of course formerly quite close to Morgan McSweeney, and maybe still quite close to Morgan McSweeney, who was the key person behind Keir Starmer. He's the Chief of Staff. Lord Glassman told us this. He says warnings were given to Number 10 directly about Lord Mandelson. Here's what he told me.
Ooh. Here next week. I could ask you about the controversy about Peter Mandelson. You're following all this, are you? There's new photographs emerged of him with Jeffrey Epstein.
Well, this occurred when I was in DC for the inauguration. I obviously had to meet a lot of MAGA people and they were just showing me photographs of Peter Mandelson blowing out the birthday candles with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, I sent the alarm messages saying, think about this. But he has, he was considered the right man to do the trade deal.
He did.
And I think he has done it.
So, Peter, you warned Number 10 about Peter Mandelson, what was going on in Washington about him.
I just told them what people were coming up to me, a trouble with their phones like this, go, look at it. And
did you warn the PM personally?
No, I didn't do that.
But people around him?
Yeah.
And they still went ahead. I mean, and now it's, where we sit by the end of this week, we'll wait and see.
Yeah,
do you think he should go? I mean...
I think his job is done.
Is done.
OK, informal warnings there directly from Lord Glassman to key figures Number 10. That's the first part of the story, Martin.
Adam Cherry, and you're going to come with the second course of this buffet. You put a story out on Guido Fawkes a short moment ago. You come straight here to tell us about it. Thank you very much for doing so. It appears that more warnings went out to Number 10 and they were totally ignored.
Pretty much, that's exactly it. Yeah, so now the intelligence services are washing their hands of it as well, and they're saying, hold on a minute, we told you guys, and within Downing Street, we're hearing natterings of frustrated senior advisors saying, and I quote this directly from my colleague Guido Fawkes, Max Young, that they told him the Prime Minister and Morgan McSweeney, the Chief of Staff, were both fully advised at the time of Peter Mandelson's appointment. And this person goes on to say that they were mad that they decided to proceed anyway. So now it's, I think, very, very clear that this was not... So in the lobby briefing in the last hour, you were hearing all these reports that, Downing Street aren't a part of the vetting process, it's a departmental thing. Well, fine, talking about the mechanics is one thing. The question of when was the appointment made under, what guidance, they were clearly fully informed of the danger of this and decided to do it anyway.
That's an astonishing admission. And Chris Hope, upon learning this, you've put this to Downing Street and you've got a comment, I believe.
Within the past hour, after you asked me to, Martin, I've done that for you. Now, we are told by Number 10, by the Deputy Official Spokesman, that Number 10 was not involved, as Adam says, in security vetting. It was managed at a departmental level. Any suggestion that Number 10 was involved in this is untrue. Extensive vetting was run before the appointment was made. There's a separate government body that does this. They make it very clear that any warnings didn't get to them if they were done. I mean, if they were done at all. Adam says they were done. Adam Cherry from Guido Fawkes, they didn't know about them in Number 10.
But there's a different thing. You're not claiming they were involved in the vetting. No. Your claim is they were warned and decided to ignore the warnings.
I think this is kind of a straw man that they're trying to build. No one is necessarily claiming that they were intimately involved in gerrymandering the results of the vetting. They received the vetting, saw the advice. Lord Glassman there saying a similar thing. It was so blindingly obvious to them that this was going to be a compromise appointment, and they decided to do it anyway. And now it's blown up in their face, only 6 days after the Deputy Prime Minister resigned. I mean, she must be happy that she's out of the news for a while.
The question is why they went ahead with it, because they clearly thought Peter Mandelson was a risk worth taking. He was a deal maker, a power broker, former trade commissioner in the European Union. He knew about how to get things done, and he had a good first six months of this job. He did clinch that trade deal. We did get a Brexit dividend as branded.
But it's never been
by Howard Lutnick,
but it's never been about Peter Mandelson's competency in the job. But that's not the conversation. Nigel Farage was very complimentary about how good Peter Mandelson was at the job.
He was good at the job.
Yeah, that's not the point. This is about his suitability for the job. And if warnings were flared upwards and they ignored them totally, to me, that is an absolute disgrace.
Precisely. Again, it's about hypocrisy and standards. It's the same issue they ran into with Angela Rayner. It's not necessarily that the crime itself was bad per se, although it wasn't, of course, compromising. It's always the cover-up. It's always the fact that 2 or 3 years ago they were the ones putting themselves on a morally superior position and telling the Tories that their vetting standards were poor. And now the shoe's on the other foot, and you have 24 hours ago the Star was saying, I have full confidence in this person, and now he's gone.
And that's the point. So he, on the security issue, he passed the security vetting, but it looks like there were other things in his past that weren't known about because of the emails. Again, this came out on Monday from this birthday book from the Democrats in America. Twitter. It took till Thursday for the PM to see what we could all see, frankly, that this person's job couldn't be hung on to. Why is he being led by events, not leading events? And that's a question for Labour MPs about their leader.
Gentlemen, the plot thickens. Adam Sherry, thank you for breaking that exclusive with us here on GB News. And Chris Hope, thank you for putting that to number 10. Joined up thinking the plot thickens on Peter Mandelson. Gentlemen, thank you. Always an absolute pleasure. Now stick with us. Lots more still to come between now and 5 o'clock, including our cross live to the United States to speak to a top political strategist following that brutal murder of Charlie Kirk, that assassination, as the manhunt continues. But first, it's time for your headlines, and here's Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you very much. The top stories. The FBI says a weapon's been found, but Charlie Kirk's killer is still at large. The 30-year-old conservative activist was shot while giving a talk at Utah Valley University. Eyewitnesses say a figure on a rooftop fired a single round, hitting him in the neck. Today marks the anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks that shocked the world. Vigils have been held across the globe, including in the United States and the UK, to remember the victims and heroes from that fatal day. Donald Trump gave an address this afternoon.
May God bless the memories of those who died and the heroes who fought and the soldiers who still stand watch. May God bless the United States of America.
James Roscoe has been appointed Britain's interim ambassador to the United States. This after Lord Mandelson was sacked after emails revealed the true depth of his relationship with paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. Labour's deputy leadership race has narrowed again, with Dame Emily Thornberry pulling out after failing to gain enough support. Her withdrawal comes just a day after Alison McGovern dropped out, leaving 4 candidates still in the running. Those are the latest headlines for now. More at the top of the hour.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Afternoon. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's more of the same for the next few days. There'll be some sunshine, but there will also be plenty of heavy showers around before some heavy rain and strong winds spread across the country on Sunday. Quite wet and windy today across the northwest of Scotland. The wet weather continuing here. Elsewhere, the showers have been more off and on, but we'll keep some feeding into western parts through the night. Much of the Midlands and eastern England will become dry overnight with lengthy clear spells. The wind's easing just a touch as well, which will allow those temperatures to dip down into single figures. A fresh start to Friday across the Midlands and eastern England, though plenty of sunshine. Further west, well, you might wake up to some sunshine, but the showers are never too far away, and still fairly thick clouds sitting over the Highlands, the Western Isles and the Northern Isles, with further outbreaks of rain here. Still windy, but not quite as windy as today. A gusty breeze blowing elsewhere that'll bring the showers through Northern Ireland. Probably a dry, fine start, though, in Belfast. Maybe across parts of East Wales as well, but certainly West Wales, Western England already having those showers in the morning. And after a sunny start, we'll see the clouds bubbling up over the Midlands, Eastern England, and showers developing here, probably by late morning onwards. The showers, like today, will be heavy, perhaps even turn into thunderstorms, but they should move through because there's enough of a breeze. So that mix of sunshine and downpours through the afternoon. When the sun's out, temperatures getting into the high teens, but feeling cooler with the breeze, and certainly those temperatures will drop when the showers come along. Heading out on Friday evening, well, be prepared for further heavy downpours, a lot of spray and surface water on the roads as well as the showers continue. They should start to ease through Friday nights, but we've still got low pressure, we've still got plenty of showers coming in for Saturday. And then for Sunday, eyes on this deepening area of low pressure approaching. That's going to bring a spell of heavy rain, but also, especially later today, some strong winds. There's a Met Office yellow warning in place.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. In Buckinghamshire, significant delays on the M25 anti-clockwise between junctions 16 and 15 occurred due to a vehicle fire, with 3 of 4 lanes closed. Expect delays of up to 1.5 hours. In Derbyshire, a broken-down vehicle on the A38 northbound exit slip to the A50 has caused a 10-minute delay. Meanwhile, high winds on the A9 Dornoch Bridge urge caution. And on the trains, Great Northern faces disruptions with no trains at Old Street, while there are bus replacements between Corkicle and Whitehaven, and issues between Manchester Victoria and Rochdale or Hebden Bridge with Northern. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Welcome back. It's 4:37. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Now, time for our latest Great British giveaway now, and it's our biggest prize to date, worth over £100,000 tax-free. It includes a full-berth motorhome worth over 74 grand, and also £30,000 dolloped on top, free cash. Here's how you could win it.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Let's get more now on the hunt for Charlie Kirk's assassin. And the FBI have revealed this afternoon that the rifle used to shoot the American political activist and key ally of Donald Trump has been recovered, with astonishing further reports suggesting that the ammunition was engraved with transgender and anti-fascist ideology. Well, let's now speak with the US political strategist and the spokesman for Republicans Overseas UK, Errol Moorcoach. Errol, welcome to the show. Donald Trump said this appeared to be the radical left, and he talked about how wonderful Americans like Charlie Kirk being compared to Nazis has made them into targets. And this latest revelation that the ammunition appears to have been engraved with trans ideology and anti-fascist messages seems to confirm that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's what we're seeing, and it's not surprising. That's what we've been expecting. There's been a spate of violence that's captured, I guess, the entire world, and it's also captured, domestic policies in other countries, but in the United States. And the trans violence and the violence from the left against the right is undeniable. And you see it here today, where a young man, a father of 2 beautiful children, was murdered for having the will and the courtesy to come and have debate. And right now, there's no surprise. I mean, that shot isn't an incredibly hard shot to make from maybe 200 yards. I mean, you have to be good with the rifle, but not great. But to escape, that's the part that's incredible. So this man, we can say he's deranged. We can say he left all these Easter eggs behind. But what's to say that, I mean, he was obviously capable enough to not only make that shot with one shot, but leave the area undetected and now evade the FBI completely. So we have to be careful to wonder if he's leaving behind Easter eggs to throw us off and make us think that he's some sort of deranged person. This is highly calculated and obviously effective assassination with a high-powered rifle. When I heard that shot go off, I knew Charlie was dead. I work in the defense industry, that you don't survive that kind of a bullet if it hits you. If it missed or if it hit the microphone, that was the only thing I could hope. And then when you saw the shot, you knew it was over. And so I'd be very wary to say what the ideology was, because usually people from that sort of subset of shooters, they're not very effective in terms of anything besides devastation, and then they kill themselves. This man came clean cut, no collateral damage, and left. It doesn't fit the MO, and that's why I'm suspicious.
And Errol, It does fit the MO, however, of the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. A lone shooter seems to totally evade any detection, clambers across a flat roof, gains a vantage point with a clear line of sight to the target, makes the shot, and in this instance, escapes. Do you think there are huge questions to be asked about the security around the university campus itself, or is it simply too difficult to do that? I mean, we can't police every event with every person from the Conservative right. It's impossible.
Exactly. President Trump, the travesty that somebody's able to even get on a roof, a gardener on the roof for or whatever reason, somebody on the roof cleaning windows. That's already a huge security failure just if somebody was to get on a roof. So that's a whole different thing. That's a presidential candidate. That's somebody with Secret Service protection. Charlie Kirk is there to debate young people on a college campus. He has a security detail, and a security detail that's more than adequate to deal with some deranged person coming full frontal towards him, or they create a security barrier and this and that, so there's no blind spots. But to defend from a sniper's bullet without the glass barriers you see that world leaders have is virtually impossible. It just can't be done. And to conduct security sweeps of every single college campus every time Charlie Kirk or anybody at this point now, what's to say that, why would he stop at Charlie Kirk? Why do you think that it's over? It doesn't make any sense that he would stop there. There's so many other people, and he's able to get away with one. He can continue on. So that's the situation we're on. This is a live action manhunt, and potentially there's more murders to come.
Errol, can I ask you about some of the simply astonishing reaction in the States and indeed in Brussels? In Brussels, left-wing MEPs refusing to join in a minute's silence for Charlie Kirk, Democrats booing a minute's silence in your chamber, the American mainstream media seemingly engaging in a huge spout of whataboutery, unable to look themselves in the mirror about why this is happening, and people on university campuses, the precise campuses that Charlie Kirk went to try and engage with them, liberal students, young people seemingly glad Charlie Kirk is dead. What on earth is going wrong with the rot at the heart of America?
These people have lost their humanity. These people have lost the very decency that we used to say made America great, and that's what was it's crossed a line. People are celebrating the death of a funny guy who went to college campuses. That's Charlie Kirk's greatest crime, was saying debate me, and they relish his death. And here's the thing, it's so short-sighted. Charlie Kirk, he's the first to tell you he wore his faith on his sleeve, and he feels that and knows that his soul is saved by Jesus Christ, and he would always talk about that. So you can't kill somebody like Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk, he's not that kind of a person. For everybody who feels bad today, there's also going to be people coming out, and the movement will get stronger. So by doing that, they've created a martyr out of somebody who only intended to be a guide to us. And I think that's the worst thing, that the hate and vitriol are directed also at a father of two young kids. When I worked with Charlie, when we launched Turning Point UK, we were just boys at the time. He's younger than me. He's only 31. To see that life cut short, and to not let somebody grow and develop as a person, or to try to kill them for one-off statement, that's crazy. And you don't see it from our side. You don't see us go and shooting their people. We wouldn't do that. And Charlie always talked about that. He always talked, if we don't have these debates, because people will come down and say, what are you doing here? And he said, because if we don't have these debates, there could be violence. And they'd say, violence against who? You? And there's videos of this. He goes, yes, violence against people who are free speech people. And then it ended up happening. And these people, they've lost the sense of decency that what makes men, and I think there's something that has to be fixed. What can it be? Does it mean just we remove ourselves further and we further entrench ourselves in sort of ideological segregation? That's what people's natural inclination is, and that's exactly the opposite of what Charlie Kirk's commitment to discourse. He's a lion of free speech, but I want to emphasize a lion of civil rights. He was a civil rights icon, and that's how he'll be remembered. And nothing these people can do, or the snide remarks can take away who Charlie Kirk was or is to so many people still today.
Errol Moore-Coach, thank you very, very much for joining us and giving us that emotional outpouring. That's wonderful. So thank you very much. That's US political strategist and spokesman for Republicans Overseas UK, Errol Moore-Coach. Thank you. Coming up, more reaction to the news that Peter Mandelson has been sacked as the UK's ambassador to the US over his relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Does this cast serious doubts over Keir Starmer's judgment? That's next.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Northern parts of Europe will see any heavy downpours and thunderstorms easing away, though some light showers remaining in places. That's away from Spain and Portugal, though. High pressure dominating, so largely settled here. Plenty of sunshine, though we could see some occasional showers affecting Barcelona. Also some showers across northern parts of Italy, Switzerland and also Austria. But elsewhere across Italy, the Adriatic coastline and across Greece, plenty of sunshine to come. That theme continuing as we head into next week, and temperatures widely in the mid to high 20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
Why do you think that era of telly is so fondly remembered by viewers? Do you think it's just how warm and friendly?
Well, of course it was.
Came through.
Well, it was very
Well, I'll tell you why.
on.
There was more people. You had more to say. You could be more off script, the way we are in GB News. But today you just get people who are told because of wokeism, don't say this, don't do that, and do read the script and stick to it. So you get presenters now who have got much less personality and much less risk.
Well, they're risk averse, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Is that probably nowadays I'd have been sacked within 2 months.
Well, I like to think it's because we did our homework, didn't we? You know, we went on there knowing what we were talking about. And we challenged people in a friendly but firm way, you know.
John, I remember presenting with you, which would never happen today. You and I presenting GMTV in the morning, right? And you would never have two men now. Don't ask me why. You could have two women doing it, but you would never have two men. And this man, to me, he was always the governor. It wouldn't matter if I was given, it was my role. I was beside him. That was John Stapleton. I said to him, you're the boss. You do what you do. He was the senior guy. Still respect him and look up to him. What do you think of what you see on TV today?
Well, I'm not as critical as you, perhaps. I think there's still some damn good programmes on TV, some very good documentaries, and I think most people in the news area do the level best they can and are very competent. So I hate to sit in judgment, but I do watch the news like you, I'm sure, in a very meticulous way, thinking, why are they saying that? Why have they put that there? Why have they put this here? But, you know, we're out of it. It's over. For me, it's over. So there's no point in sitting there harping about what's going on now.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Time is 10 to 5. You're with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. More now on another major setback for Keir Starmer. He sacked Peter Mandelson as the UK's ambassador to the United States after more revelations about his relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Let's bring in now our next guest. That's the political commentator, Benedict Spence. Benedict, always a pleasure to have your company. The writing was on the wall, and today the writing is on the P45 for Peter Mandelson. But in this past hour, more revelations have come out from Guido Fawkes, suggesting that Number 10 ignored repeated warnings about Peter Mandelson, casting further doubt over the judgment of Keir Starmer.
Yeah, unbelievable. And I mean, for this to have come, of course, as everybody knows, within a fortnight of the Prime Minister's Phase 2 reset, and having lost his Deputy Prime Minister and having lost, a couple of other people in a reshuffle, really, for this to have come out now, for this to have happened now, it simply, I think, as you say, it undermines the questions about his judgment, not simply about people who have gone before. We all know the parade of ministers that have had to resign for various hilarious reasons. This is something, frankly, that was far more sinister in its allegations. And as you say, actually, is something that has been known about for a very long time. The Financial Times and other publications have been writing about Lord Mandelson's friendship with Jeffrey Epstein for several years now. For the Prime Minister to have come out yesterday at Prime Minister's Questions and given his wholehearted endorsement of his ambassador, to then to have had to sort of volte-face in such a short space of time, it's incredibly embarrassing. It completely torpedoes any suggestion that they're back on track, that the government has got a grip on the situation. And again, the questions are now going to be asked, how much did the Prime Minister know at all stages of this? Because surely he can't claim that he was oblivious to this.
And Benedict Spence, getting Sir Keir Starmer's full confidence at the moment seems to be akin to getting the kiss of death. Angela Rayner had the full confidence at last PMQ. She was gone in a couple of days. And then Mandelson got the full confidence vote at PMQ yesterday. He was gone before 24 hours had elapsed. Who's next to get the full confidence vote?
I mean, it's a bit like, the old-fashioned, in football, the old-fashioned chairman of the board gives a manager his full endorsement. He loses the next week and he's out. It does appear that, Sir Keir Starmer is running things a bit like a sort of a League Two football club, in that actually it's all just a bit of a roller coaster and you can't be sure that what he says is going to be the same thing from one day to the next. I mean, frankly, I think of all the people that are probably sat here, counting their blessings, counting their lucky stars, I think many people are amazed that Ed Miliband managed to survive this reshuffle. I would be amazed if he lost another year in his position. Rachel Reeves has to be kept on until the budget, and then when that goes south, you suspect she will be in hot water. But the question is, of course, who actually has been up to no good in their departments that nobody knows about yet. That's the thing. Angela Rayner, it was something to do with housing. When it came to Tulip Sadiq, the corruption czar, she's been accused of corruption overseas. Honestly, it seems we don't have to work very hard with this government. You just have to go, right, what minister is in charge of which department? Keep an eye on something to do with that department. They've probably done something wrong regarding it.
All right. We have to do that, Benedict Spence. Now, Mandy's been sacked 3 times, twice more. It'll be the same as Big Sam Allardyce. Thank you very much, Benedict Spence. Always a pleasure to have your company. Now, coming up, the manhunt for the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk continues. I'll bring you all the very latest on this astonishing story, including the revelation that the ammunition that killed Kirk was inscribed with trans ideology. That's next on GB News, Britain's News Channel. But first, here's your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Afternoon. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's more of the same for the next few days. There'll be some sunshine, but there will also be plenty of heavy showers around before some heavy rain and strong winds spread across the country on Sunday. Quite wet and windy today across the northwest of Scotland. The wet weather continuing here. Elsewhere, the showers have been more off and on, but we'll keep some feeding into western parts through the night. Much of the Midlands and eastern England will become dry overnight with lengthy clear spells. The wind's easing just a touch as well, which will allow those temperatures to dip down into single figures. A fresh start to Friday across the Midlands and eastern England, though plenty of sunshine. Further west, well, you might wake up to some sunshine, but the showers are never too far away, and still fairly thick clouds sitting over the Highlands, the Western Isles and the Northern Isles, with further outbreaks of rain here. Still windy, but not quite as windy as today. A gusty breeze blowing elsewhere that'll bring the showers through Northern Ireland. Probably a dry, fine start, though, in Belfast. Maybe across parts of East Wales as well, but certainly West Wales, Western England already having those showers in the morning. And after a sunny start, we'll see the clouds bubbling up over the Midlands, Eastern England, and showers developing here probably by late morning onwards. The showers, like today, will be heavy, perhaps even turn into thunderstorms, but they should move through because there's enough of a breeze. So that mix of sunshine and downpours through the afternoon. When the sun's out, temperatures getting into the high teens, but feeling cooler with the breeze, and certainly those temperatures will drop when the showers come along. Heading out on Friday evening, well, be prepared for further heavy downpours, a lot of spray and surface water on the roads as well as the showers continue. They should start to ease through Friday nights, but we've still got low pressure, we've still got plenty of showers coming in for Saturday. And then for Sunday, eyes on this deepening area of low pressure approaching. That's going to bring a spell of heavy rain, but also, especially late in the day, some strong winds. There's a Met Office yellow warning in place.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Motorists on the A90 face northbound restrictions at Lawrence Kirk due to a traffic incident. Exercise caution and allow additional travel time. In Northamptonshire, the A14 westbound has a broken down vehicle closing one lane. On the M27 westbound exit slip at Junction 8 in Hampshire, road management closed one lane. Conditions should normalise by 6:30. And on the trains, Great Northern reports no trains at Old Street, while buses replace trains between Corkickle and Whitehaven. Expect disruptions between Manchester Victoria and Rochdale, affecting connections to Hebden Bridge. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Very, very good afternoon to you. It's 5 p.m. and welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News. We're broadcasting live across the UK with all the very latest news, debate and analysis all the way until 6 p.m. And here's what's coming up on today's show. The American political activist and key ally of Donald Trump, Charlie Kirk, has been killed in what is being described as a political assassination whilst he was debating university students in Utah. The 31-year-old, often described as the de facto leader of the MAGA youth movement, was shot by a gunman at Utah Valley University as he discussed mass shootings committed by trans people. And the manhunt for the suspected assassin continues, with reports suggesting that the ammunition recovered by the FBI and law enforcement contained engravings of transgender and anti-fascist ideology. We'll bring you all right up to date throughout the show. And just yesterday at PMQ, Sir Keir Starmer said this about Peter Mandelson.
The relationship between the US and the UK is one of our foremost relationships, and I have confidence in the ambassador in the role that he is doing.
Well, less than 24 hours after that full confidence vote, the US ambassador was sacked for his tangled relationship with paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. How did Mandy get through the vetting process? And just 6 days after Angela Rayner got the boot, does this cast serious doubts over Sir Keir's judgment? And also on today's show, we're speaking with the President of Israel, who reportedly clashed with Sir Keir Starmer during a tough meeting in Downing Street yesterday. Has Britain become hostile to Israel or seemingly taking sides with Palestine? That's all coming up on today's show. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company. The big question today we've been posing is this. Does the United Kingdom also have a problem with the radical left? We've seen people be assassinated, Charlie Kirk in the United States. Yesterday, John McDonnell, the former Labour Chancellor, saying Nigel Farage was like Adolf Hitler. Is it time to call time on this political rhetoric that's revving up the masses? And could Britain be spiralling towards the same political violence we're seeing becoming a huge, huge problem, resulting in the tragic death of Charlie Kirk in the United States? I'll be joined in the studio by Lord Walney, the government's former independent advisor on counter-terrorism extremism, to take his opinion. Does Britain have an emerging problem with the radical left? Let me know your thoughts. Get in touch, gbnews.com/your say. But now it's time for your headlines, and here's Tatiana Sanchez.
Martin, thank you. The top stories. The FBI say a weapon has been found, but Charlie Kirk's killer is still at large. Officials say the suspect appears to be of college age. 30-year-old conservative activist Charlie Kirk was shot while giving a talk at Utah Valley University. Eyewitnesses say a figure on a rooftop fired a single round, hitting him in the neck. Kirk was rushed to hospital by his security team, but 2 hours later, the US president announced Kirk had died of his injuries. Former presidents and world leaders have condemned the killing, with Sir Keir Starmer calling it heartbreaking and insisting political debate must never descend into violence. Today marks the anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks that shocked the world. Vigils have been held across the globe, including in the US and the UK, to remember the victims and heroes from that fatal day. US President Donald Trump addressed a memorial service in Arlington to mark the day.
We will support our troops, we will protect our families, and we will preserve the American way of life for every future generation. We will build taller, grow stronger, fight harder, and soar higher. And together we will go forward as one people with one heart, one fate, one flag, and one glorious destiny under Almighty God. May God bless the memories of those who died and the heroes who fought and the soldiers who still stand watch. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
James Roscoe has been appointed Britain's interim ambassador to the United States. It's after Lord Mandelson was sacked after emails revealed the true depth of his relationship with paedophile financier Jeffrey Epstein. It comes just days after the ambassador himself admitted further embarrassing emails were likely to emerge, including one in which he called Epstein his best pal. The Foreign Office says the correspondence was materially different to what was known when he was appointed. Sir Keir Starmer told MPs yesterday he still had confidence in Mandelson, but today in the Commons, his withdrawal was confirmed. The decision follows growing outrage across Westminster, with Health Secretary Wes Streeting calling the messages disgusting and Home Office Minister Mike Tapp describing them as sickening. After pressing the government with an urgent question, Tory MP Neil O'Brien said Mandelson's removal was the only possible outcome.
This is yet another extraordinary error of judgment by this weak Prime Minister. And I pay tribute to the Leader of the Opposition for yesterday securing justice for the victims of Epstein. This raises massive questions. It is not just that Peter Mandelson said that Epstein was his best pal and that he loved him. It wasn't just that he brokered a deal for him while he was business secretary. We now, of course, know that he was working for Epstein's early release after he was convicted.
Labour's deputy leadership race has narrowed again, with Dame Emily Thornberry pulling out after failing to gain enough support. Her withdrawal comes a day after Alison McGovern dropped out, leaving 4 candidates still in the running. They include Education Secretary Bridget Phillipson, former Commons leader Lucy Powell, Clapham MP Belle Ribeiro-Addy and Paula Barker, the ex-Shadow Housing Minister. The contest was triggered by Angela Rayner's resignation last week over her tax affairs. And Britain is stepping up its support for Ukraine with plans to begin large-scale production of advanced interceptor drones. The aircraft, designed in Kyiv with British expertise, have already proved effective against the Iranian-made Shahed drones Russia continues to launch, but a fraction of the cost of traditional missiles. The move comes after NATO forces in Poland shot down suspected Russian drones that violated their airspace overnight, the first known NATO engagement of the war. Defence Secretary John Healey says the project is a first-of-its-kind deal, while the Prime Minister calls it a landmark moment in Britain's backing for Ukraine. Those are the latest headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
And here's a snapshot of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3568 and €1.1560. The price of gold, £2,679 and 31 pence per ounce. The FTSE 100's at 9,285 points.
Cheers Britannia Wine Club proudly sponsors the GB News Financial Report.
Thank you, Tatiana. We've got some breaking news for you now, and it's this. The FBI have released these suspect photos on their social media feed, asking for the public's help in identifying this person of interest in connection with the fatal shooting, the assassination of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. If you look at those pictures there, it appears to be very much an average college-aged kid. It appears to be a white male, we're hearing, wearing sunglasses. And as you can see on your screens, if you're listening on radio, a black baseball cap, and appears to be a sweatshirt with a Stars and Stripes flag on, basically. It could be any ordinary college kid, which in a sense makes this even more chilling. Let's discuss this in the studio. I'm joined by GBNews' political editor Chris Hope, and also the peer, the former Labour MP and the former government's independent advisor on extremism, Lord Daubney. Welcome to you both. Chris Hope, let's start with this incredible breaking news. The FBI have released these early pictures. Of course, this isn't necessarily the assassin himself, but it appears to be that still at large, somehow evaded the FBI, simply walked onto a roof, took a shot and strolled away. The gun was found in woodland with an imprint of his hand, we understand, and forearm. And the most astonishing piece of information to come out this afternoon, ammunition found engraved with, quote, trans ideology and anti-fascist messaging. Now, more or less straight after the assassination of Charlie Kirk last night in Utah, Chris, Donald Trump said this was the radical left. And he said that comparing wonderful Americans like Charlie Kirk to Nazis made conservatives into targets. That theory seems to be gathering momentum.
Yes, Martin, it's deeply chilling. And what is, I think, extremely chilling is at the moment he started talking about trans ideology and shootings, he was shot and killed. So it just, you know, the FBI looking at this close, of course, in the States, and it's their investigation, but it is chilling. In the past few hours, we've spoken to Warren Stevens, who's the US ambassador for America, for the UK, who's here, and he said that he feels for Charlie Kirk's widow, and he has called for political rhetoric, Martin, to be dialed down. And there's a concern in the States, of course, about what they see as censorship here, the fact you can be arrested for putting messages on social media. I think everyone wants to just dial it down a bit, dial down the rhetoric, and it matters as much here as over there.
OK, well, let's go to our national reporter, Charlie Peters, now, with more of an update on this latest incredible information. It's coming thick and fast, Charlie Peters. Now, the FBI released the first suspect photographs. Tell us more.
Well, Martin, it's very interesting. These 2 photos that the FBI have released out of their Salt Lake City field office link to the earlier briefing we had, that intelligence update at 2 p.m. UK time, when we heard from the special agent on the ground there and also from the Public Safety Commissioner, because they referred to the suspect moving inside stairs stairwells at the Lossy Centre, the rooftop of which was used to fire that single fatal shot from a bolt-action rifle that has since been recovered. And in the two images that we're showing on your screen right now, the photo on the left, the first image they've released, shows a man walking up a stairwell, and he's a white man, he's wearing sunglasses, a cap, and what appears to be an American flag on a black full-length T-shirt, plus with long sleeves, plus some jeans and what appear to be some sneakers. In a second photo against a wall, the same outfit repeated, potentially an eagle at the centre of that emblem, though we can't quite be sure with the quality of the CCTV footage released. And they believe that the man you're seeing on your screen right now in that red circle is also the man that we're looking at with these FBI images released. So a clear intelligence link between the briefing they gave us earlier. They're appealing for information, saying we are asking for the public's help in identifying this person of interest in connection with the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. We've also since had information leaked to the American media, in particular the Wall Street Journal, getting law enforcement sources from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms, which is a judicial authority within the United States that does sorts of investigations into the movement of narcotics and firearms in the US, saying that engravings on some of the cartridges and ammunition found on that bolt-action rifle, which was said to be an old hunting-style rifle, had transgender and anti-fascist ideology engravings on them. So this is the person of interest they believe is linked not only with the shooting, but also, of course, those engravings. Now, we haven't had official words from the FBI on that leaked information, reportedly from an ATF intelligence report on the ammunition inside the rifle that was found in a wooded area close to that shooting position. And of course, they are releasing this information because they haven't got a suspect. The FBI has likely had this CCTV for several hours. They almost certainly had this imagery long before the press conference they gave at 2 p.m. and did not likely want to release it. But they've been forced to do so because they are still hunting for a suspect in custody, having made 2 arrests yesterday, both of them released, and both of those people since receiving death threats. And with the intelligence picture we have now and the timing that has passed, coming up in 24 hours since this fatal shooting of the American conservative influencer and commentator, they will be especially concerned that in Utah, that this suspect could have travelled very far indeed. An airport is just 45 minutes away. We do know that this suspect is said to have tried to blend in with the student population, and particularly at a sort of conservative political event, him wearing an American flag and dressing in that style, likely an attempt to blend in with what was almost certainly a sort of a surge in conservative students on campus that day. He was said to have jumped from the roof of that building you're seeing on your screen now, the Lossy Centre, just 150 yards away from the shooting, and then fled from that scene to the woodland where that rifle was abandoned. We've also got information from the FBI as part of the intelligence picture that they revealed at 2 p.m. that they have forearm prints and also a footwear imprint. Now, the forearm imprint, I presume, it's just a deductive assessment, really, not based on anything they've confirmed, but I presume that's from the prone position that the shooter was in on the roof, because we know that he arrived at that scene at about 11:52, with the shot being fired at 12:05. So a long time for a shooter to take up a prone position on that rooftop, 150 yards away from where Charlie Kirk was shot. So it's highly likely that those are the imprints that the FBI have taken. Now, we also know that while the FBI are assessing these images, that they are likely going to be putting them through facial recognition technology. That will be hampered by, of course, the wearing of very large sunglasses, aviator style, I've seen them described elsewhere, and also wearing a cap to reduce the amount of facial recognition technology that they could apply to this suspect. But also, they're going to be scouring the weapon they've recovered for every ounce of forensic intelligence and information it offers, because there'll be so much on there, particularly with those engravings. The ATF and the FBI have confirmed they've taken that to a lab for assessment, and because It's an old-style hunting rifle, as we understand it. That could also provide some information on previous uses. But at this stage, the FBI, in their latest update on their probe into the killing of Charlie Kirk, described as a political assassination last night, they're asking for the public's help to identify this person of interest, with 2 photos released just in the last few minutes.
Thank you, Charlie Peters, for bringing us fully up to speed there. Let's get back to the studio now. I want to bring in my studio guest, and that is the former Labour MP, the peer, and the former government's independent advisor on extremism, Lord Wolney. Lord Wolney, it's always a pleasure to have your show, and you've written the gold standard report on extremism in the United Kingdom. And I wanted to ask a question to you that I've been asking throughout the show there. We've just seen there, just looks like an ordinary college kid. An ordinary college kid who, for some reason, has decided to commit the ultimate crime, which increasingly looks like a politically motivated assassination. First of all, it must make you utterly despair and break your heart that any young person would go to such lengths simply because they disagree with somebody.
That's right. And we do have this problem across a spectrum of ideologies of young people being radicalised, whether that is into radical Islamist thinking or the far right. But then, yes, also clearly a potential for the radicalisation into violence coming from the far left. You have seen thus far more of a tradition of that in the United States than in the UK, thankfully, but there are many radical activists who look over to the States to look at the extreme campaign tactics that are in use over there, and absolutely we have got to be vigilant for the kind of hate, aggression, violent tactics that are being used on the far left, spilling over into the assassination that we have, of course, seen. This is not a theoretical thing. We have seen this coming from an Islamist attacker, from a far-right attacker, in members of parliament being assassinated in recent years.
I want to ask you as well about, you said in your report that we seem to have something of a blind spot about far-left terrorism in the United Kingdom. I wonder if that's actually hiding in plain sight sometimes. And what I mean by that is we've seen John McDonnell, the former Labour Chancellor, yesterday at the TUC conference in Brighton, comparing Nigel Farage to Adolf Hitler. We've got the current Deputy Prime Minister, David Lammy, comparing Donald Trump to a fascist, to a Nazi, a KKK sympathiser. And it seems to be a constant political rhetoric now from those, even on the mainstream left, to compare mainstream political leaders like Nigel Farage to fascists. I put it to you, this is dangerous and it must stop.
Yeah, it's wrong and it's dangerous for two reasons. One, there is absolutely that sort of demonisation, dehumanisation of political opponents, which can fuel this idea that it's OK, therefore, to take the kind of action which you would never take to a fellow human being in the street otherwise. What it also does is it potentially drives more people to the extremes, because if you call Nigel Farage a Nazi, an extremist, then a lot of people look at that and say, well, hang on, I agree with him on immigration. So, maybe these people think that I'm an extremist or a Nazi as well, and they're more likely, therefore, potentially to go down the rabbit hole of genuine extremism.
And Chris Hope, we heard the Prime Minister call people far right after Southport. I put it to you that this othering, this demonisation of people, it goes to the very top of British politics. It's an absolute cancer and it needs to be stopped.
Yeah, it's not fair on those many of the people who are concerned about the Southport killings were not far right. They're just concerned about immigration and the state of this country. It seems to me, though, and what Lord Wolney thinks of this, that yes, the racist claim is chucked at Reform UK's leaders or its members, but it's not really working, is it? Because the party's on 30 points in the polls. Almost people are seeing through this rhetoric for what it is, which is frankly some of it is name-calling.
Well, they know they're not racist, and they're just ordinary people, as you said, have been dragged into to this all-encompassing smear. And how do we stop it?
I mean, let me be clear that there has been problems of some sort of extremism and racism on the alternative right, the parties that have formed and reformed to the right of the Conservative Party. But it cheapens the claim if you brand it widely to all the party and all of its supporters, and it actually drives people into the arms of extremism and means that the real extremism can often therefore not be tackled because people on the centre and on the left have cried wolf too many times and they're just not listened to anymore.
Lord Warney, finally, it's a question I just really don't know if I even want to know the answer to, but if we continue like this, we've already seen David Amos murdered. We've already seen Joe Cox murdered. If we continue like this, might we see something like Charlie Kirk happening on British soil?
I think that is something we have to be vigilant against because there has indeed been a lack of understanding and focus by the security, intelligence services, law enforcement on far-left ideology. And in a way, that has been entirely rational because it hasn't been where the violence has been. And there is still at the moment, thankfully, less of a danger of direct violence against people on the far left than there is on the far right. And then above both of those two, Islamism. However, a real theme of my work has been to look at the criminal sabotage, the intimidation, the angry confrontational style of parts of the far left, which has actually been adopted by a number of organisations now, because I think that once you accept that kind of criminal behaviour as acceptable because it's in the name of your cause, there isn't an obvious philosophical end to that ratchet of radicalisation that could, in time, lead to violence against individuals, which may well be what you've seen with Charlie Kirk, has certainly been the case in the United States, it would seem, with the assassination of the healthcare leader, and we must be cauterise this now to stop it from spilling over.
Lord Warney, excellent analysis. Thank you for coming in and joining us in the studio. And Chris Hope, thank you as ever. Still to come, I'll speak with the President of Israel, who reportedly clashed with Sir Keir Starmer during a tough meeting in Downing Street yesterday as Britain became hostile to Israel, while seemingly taking sides with Palestine. And also coming up on the show, just yesterday at PMQ, Sir Keir Starmer said this about Peter Mandelson.
The relationship between the US and the UK is one of our foremost relationships, and I have confidence in the ambassador in the role that he is doing.
Well, less than 24 hours after that confidence motion, the US ambassador was sacked for his tangled relationship with the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Does this cast serious doubt of Sir Keir's judgment? I'll speak with a Labour MP next for their thoughts. This is GB News. I'm Martin Daubney. This is Britain's News Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 5:27. We've got some breaking news for you now, and it's huge. The FBI have released these suspect photographs on their social media feed, asking for the public's help in identifying this person of interest in connection with the fatal shooting, the assassination of Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. Let's get the thoughts now of my next guest. I'm joined by the US political analyst and the author Spencer Critchley, who joins us from California. Spencer, welcome to the show. Pleasure to have your company. So the information is coming thick and fast. We've seen there the first pictures of the person of interest. Just appears to be an ordinary college kid. And the other revelation about an hour ago, the ammunition believed to have been found at the scene was engraved with trans ideology and anti-fascist messaging. Seems to be tipping in now to the theory put forward early by the president, Donald Trump. This looks like a radical left motivated crime.
Certainly, if that's where the evidence leads, that's what it might be. And of course, we have to be careful about speculating too much. One thing I want to absolutely emphasize right off the top here is that I'm not going to defend radical left extremism versus radical right extremism or try to identify which side is more at fault. We could get into statistics about that, but I think the acceptable amount of political violence is zero. And if we don't condemn it, no matter where it comes from, we're not actually condemning it at all.
Spencer, you raised an excellent point, and one we can all agree with. That hasn't been happening in America. We've seen Democrats, Congress people refusing to pray for Charlie Kirk. We've seen left-wing MEPs in Brussels refusing to join in with a minute's silence. We've seen media pundits on the left spectrum in America engaging in whataboutery around this. There does seem to be a peculiar lack of sympathy for the assassination of Charlie Kirk in certain quarters.
Well, unfortunately, with respect, here we go. I could easily cite the longstanding encouragement of political violence on the American right led by our current president. But the amount of political violence that's acceptable is zero, and anybody on the left who encourages it is as at fault as anybody on the right. We can find plenty of examples. If we are talking about the reaction from the left, I will emphasize that President Bill Clinton, former President Barack Obama, former President George Bush, every leading Democrat has roundly condemned this violence with sincerity that I don't think can be doubted. Every credible leader on the liberal left has condemned it, as do credible leaders on the right. And in fact, I think one area that's extremely important where we all get misled, whether we're on the conservative right or the liberal left, is that the people who favor violence, who favor the demonization of others, don't represent conservatism. They don't represent liberalism of the left. They represent authoritarianism, whether it's on the right or the left. And I think that all of us, whether we're conservatives or what are commonly known as liberals, meaning people on the left, need to unite against authoritarianism, whether it's on the right or the left. And I think people on the right and the left are often confused about that crucial distinction.
Spencer, quickly, if I could, we seem to have a peculiar problem, though, amongst young people. Charlie Kirk was assassinated on a university campus, a place where he simply went to debate and engage with people who disagreed with him. He was shot, perhaps pertinently, at a moment where he was talking about assassinations by trans people, shootings by trans people, and now the ammunition we see seems to concur with that. You have to admit, young people seem to be going down a certain path, and it seems to be a path where they're demonising those on the conservative side of the spectrum.
Again, not to speak ill of the dead, but Charlie Kirk said that Jews fanned hatred against white people. He said that liberals stand for everything that God hates. He said the American left wants to use Islam as a sword to slit the throat of America. This does not begin to excuse political violence against him. The problem here, though, is not that the left is somehow uniquely responsible for hateful rhetoric. And again, if we want to go down this road, the President of the United States, supposedly standing for traditional law and order and respect for authority and respect for the police, pardoned every single one of the January 6 rioters, including the ones on which of whom we've all seen video, brutally attacking police officers, pardoned every single one of them. Many of them went on to commit crimes. So we can go back and forth about who's supposedly more at fault. I might cite the statistic that the #1 domestic terrorism threat in the United States is from white men on the extreme right. On the other hand, coming up right
if you look at per capita, and Spencer Gritchley, you said you wouldn't talk End of the Dead, and I think you have.
Pardon me?
You said you wouldn't speak ill of the dead, and yes, I think you have with your analysis there of Charlie Kirk.
I'm afraid that if you're going to frame the discussion as strictly a problem emanating from the right, when clearly
nobody is,
it's unacceptable no matter where it comes from, and if we are going to try to pin it on one side or the other, the right loses that comparison.
And 2 children have lost their father, specifically about the trend of this type of violence. That's what we're there to talk about. But of course, it happens.
Listen, I'm quoting Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
I'm not characterizing him, I'm quoting him. Now, I disagree with every single thing he said, but I think what he was doing that day, yesterday, when he was killed, was admirable. And I think that going to campuses and engaging people in debate is exactly what we want to see people doing in a democracy, including people we disagree with fundamentally. But if you're going to frame it as strictly a problem on the left, I'm sorry, I have to disagree.
I'm not framing it strictly as that. I'm talking about a young man is dead, his children don't have a father. We're specifically talking about that. But look, we have to go. Spencer Gritchley, thank you for your time. It truly is a pleasure. Loads more still to come between now and 6 o'clock, including I'll speak with the President of Israel, who reportedly clashed with Keir Starmer at Downing Street during a tough meeting. Has Britain become hostile to Israel while taking sides with Palestine? Plenty more to come throughout the rest of the show, but now if you're travelling home, stay safe. Here's your travel news.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. Driving northbound on the A90 at Lawrence Kirk, motorists should be cautious due to a road traffic incident requiring extra travel time. In Hertfordshire, the M1 southbound between junctions 6 and 5 has a collision causing one-lane closure. On Hampshire's M27 westbound, expect lane restrictions at junction 8 due to road management, which might slow your journey. And on the trains, Great Northern announces no trains at Old Street. Meanwhile, Northern reports buses replacing trains between Corkicle and Whitehaven, and disruptions from Manchester Victoria to Hebden Bridge. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Afternoon, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's more of the same for the next few days. There'll be some sunshine, but there will also be plenty of heavy showers around before some heavy rain and strong winds spread across the country on Sunday. Quite wet and windy today across the northwest of Scotland. The wet weather continuing here. Elsewhere, the showers have been more off and on, but we'll keep some feeding into western parts through the night. Much of the Midlands and eastern England will become dry overnight with lengthy clear spells. The wind's easing just a touch as well, which will allow those temperatures to dip down into single figures. A fresh start to Friday across the Midlands and eastern England, though plenty of sunshine. Further west, well, you might wake up to some sunshine, but the showers are never too far away, and still fairly thick clouds sitting over the Highlands, the Western Isles and the Northern Isles, with further outbreaks of rain here. Still windy, but not quite as windy as today. A gusty breeze blowing elsewhere that'll bring the showers through Northern Ireland. Probably a dry, fine start, though, in Belfast. Maybe across parts of East Wales as well, but certainly West Wales, Western England already having those showers in the morning. And after a sunny start, we'll see the clouds bubbling up over the Midlands, Eastern England, and showers developing here, probably by late morning onwards. The showers, like today, will be heavy, perhaps even turn into thunderstorms, but they should move through because there's enough of a breeze. So that mix of sunshine and downpours through the afternoon. When the sun's out, temperatures getting into the high teens, but feeling cooler with the breeze, and certainly those temperatures will drop when the showers come along. Heading out on Friday evening, well, be prepared for further heavy downpours, a lot of spray and surface water on the roads as well as the showers continue. They should start to ease through Friday nights, but we've still got low pressure, we've still got plenty of showers coming in for Saturday. And then for Sunday, eyes on this deepening area of low pressure approaching. That's going to bring a spell of heavy rain, but also, especially later today, some strong winds. There's a Met Office yellow warning in place.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
And more now on the big breaking news story from this morning. Peter Mandelson has finally been sacked as the UK's ambassador to the United States. And Mandy's lost his job after more revelations about his relationship with the notorious paedophile Jeffrey Epstein was published. And we can now speak with the Labour MP for Blackley and Middleton South, Graham Stringer. Graham, welcome to the show. Always a pleasure. The writing was on the wall for Mandy, and today the writing is on his P45. But these questions won't go away about how much Sir Keir Starmer knew and when he knew it. Guido Fawkes have broken the story in this past hour. They claim that Sir Keir Starmer was repeatedly warned. Number 10 were repeatedly warned about getting close to Mandelson and getting him in this job, and yet those warnings were ignored.
I've not seen what Guido Fawkes has been saying, but it was in today's papers, which I'd not known before, that Lord Glassman, who's a Labour Lord, had warned against the appointment precisely because this kind of scenario might happen, and that was ignored. So all the details that have come out since about trying to advise Epstein on how to appeal or shorten his sentence in the United States, all those things that are pretty unsavoury, were probably going to finish Peter Mandelson off anyway. But the real question is that 10 Downing Street, the Prime Minister, took a risk on the appointment, a risk they knew, and they got wrong.
Is that a risk that was foolhardy or a risk that was calculated? They simply decided to take the gamble. And is that really the way to run the country?
I don't think so. I mean, it isn't only that Peter Mandelson was warned against. It was also that there was a perfectly good, not just good, an excellent ambassador in Washington who'd got a good relationship with the Trump administration. She was a career diplomat, appointed by the Conservatives, but her reputation right across the spectrum was good. She was effective, and there was a lobby to keep her there until the Trump administration had settled down, if it ever does, and the Labour administration had got its feet under the table and could make a judgment on what had been happening. That was put on one side and the risk was taken, and it's backfired.
Graham Stringer, let's be honest about this. So-called phase 2 has now turned to phase 3 of Sir Keir Starmer's regime. It's been a complete disaster.
It is. It's pretty shocking to lose the Deputy Prime Minister and the most important ambassador in the system, the British ambassador to the United States of America, within a week. That, I mean, it doesn't look good, but it hints at something else. The Prime Minister and the rest of the administration have to get their act together. Even if you go back to yesterday, the papers, the media was talking about this as a problem. The Prime Minister went into the Commons chamber saying one thing, that he got full confidence in Peter Mandelson, which he couldn't sustain. He should have checked out all the facts and made a political decision, not an administrative decision. He relied on saying the procedures had been followed. This isn't an industrial tribunal. It's a political appointment, and politics is a rough, tough game.
Graham Stringer, thank you very much. We have to leave it there. It's always a pleasure to have your company. Now, stay with us, because coming up, I'll speak with the President of Israel, who reportedly clashed with Sir Keir Starmer during a tough meeting in Downing Street yesterday. Don't go anywhere. That's next.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Today we have a special treat for you all, because we're talking about John Stapleton.
Yes.
And he's reunited with his boxing partner on breakfast
wife.
television.
On screen wife.
For the first time in 17 years.
Well, we were 17 years together.
We were.
And then I don't know how long that we haven't actually presented it. When did it all? When did the wheels come off?
Nearly 10 years ago.
10 years ago. 10 years ago that the wheels came off and we went our separate ways, like sort of squeaky supermarket trolleys.
But stayed in touch.
Oh yes, of course. We carried on with our very sober lunches.
Indeed.
Well, my friend, absolutely great to see you.
Hi, new fella.
And what's wrong with you?
I've got a thing called Parkinson's disease, which is what they call a progressive illness, which is a polite way of saying it'll only get worse. But thinking positive about it, lots of people live a near normal life with Parkinson's, so I'm aiming to do the same. I'm taking the tablets, I'm doing the exercises my expert tells me I should do. I'm speaking as well as I can, because I need a speech therapist to talk more slowly and more clearly. I also have difficulty swallowing, and the latest thing is I've had difficulty with my balance, hence this stick I've got by my side all the time now. So, but, you know, I'm learning to live with it, doing my best to overcome it.
So what is it? What is Parkinson's? Those are the effects it's having on you, but where's the problem? Why does it come about?
It's a neurological disorder, which means your body doesn't coordinate as it used to do. It's the fastest growing neurological complaint in the world, believe it or not. We don't quite know why, possibly because more of us are living longer. But, you know, as I say, you can live a near normal life with it, and so if you behave yourself, which I'm attempting to do.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 5:45. The President of Israel met with the Prime Minister in Downing Street yesterday, where the pair reportedly argued over UK plans to recognise a Palestinian state and concern over the humanitarian situation in Gaza. Well, the meeting came after Israel carried out airstrikes against senior Hamas leaders in Qatar, which Keir Starmer condemned. I'm delighted to say I'm joined in the studio by President Isaac Herzog. Now, welcome to the show, Mr. President.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Likewise. May I ask you about the so-called argument you had with Keir Starmer? What was it about?
So I would say that that the two issues you mentioned are the issues that are thorny in terms of the dialogue we have with the British government. I mean, we had a productive meeting. It's a meeting between allies who can argue. But the two main questions that arise is, one, is the intention of the British government to recognize unilaterally a Palestinian state, something which we feel will be adverse to any efforts of reaching amicable peace in the Middle East, won't help one Palestinian and won't help one hostage to come out. Because the way we see the situation is that Hamas, which is holding the Israeli hostages down under in Gaza for almost 2 years, and leading a jihadist campaign throughout the region, Hamas feels that they may have the upper hand if Britain or other countries declare also a symbolic recognition of a Palestinian state. And the other issue is we reject totally the notion that there is any famine right now in Gaza. On the contrary, in the last 2 months, Israel has overhauled and changed all its policy. Gaza is open and there's a huge amount of food being supplied in, with a sharp reduction of the cost of produce and food and all other necessary needs in Gaza.
Well, we are seeing images, aren't we, of starving children in Gaza, and that's being used to criticise your country. When you arrived there in number 10, it looked like, well, there was no red carpet for you, but there was for the Palestinian leader, Mahmoud Abbas, 2 days earlier. Why do you think that was?
Well, I didn't check if there was a red carpet or not. I've been in 10 Downing many times. It was actually raining. But I would say that we are allies. And the problem is the enormous distortion by certain media outlets and commentators. We are allies. Yeah. Israel and the United Kingdom are allies on so many frontiers. We, Israel, are defending Europe, defending the world, the free world, as we are doing it with our sons and daughters fighting and changing the reality in Lebanon, in Syria, in Yemen, in Iran, and of course in Gaza, which is a painful, complicated terrain of battle, because in people's homes there are missiles of the worst kinds and other equipment, and everything is booby-trapped up to the neck. And that is why it's a complicated terrain of battle. Right now, there's no hunger and no famine in Gaza.
But those pictures, you deny that that's
no,
a famine?
So what I'm saying is that before 2 months ago, there was a period where we wanted to take out the control of Hamas controlling the food, because they use the food as a tool to coerce their opinion on the people of Gaza, 80% of whom want them out. And they're interviewed in Israeli TV every night, and I wish GB would also bring some of those interviews to show how much they're suffering from Hamas. So we proposed a new scheme whereby the food will be supplied directly to people directly, and Hamas nixed it. And that's what led to a shortage of food. I understand it, I admit it, and I say, but that was not intentional in any way, and that's why Israel overhauled completely its policy.
And, Mr. President, we have indeed had relatives of those who were kidnapped by Hamas in the studio here before, so we very much have told that side of the story. May I ask you, you say
they're
that
going through hell. They're going clearly through hell, and we're very worried.
Yes. May I ask you about, you mentioned that the United Kingdom is an ally. Is it? And the reason I ask that is that there was hostility yesterday at Prime Minister's Question Time. There was an SNP Member of Parliament who compared you to Vladimir Putin, saying why would Sir Keir Starmer roll out the red carpet, although they didn't, to you, would they bring in Vladimir Putin? And our former Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, who is now our Deputy Prime Minister, has been pretty hostile towards Israel. Do you think a lot of people, maybe including yourself, think that the United Kingdom government, as it stands, seems to be siding with Palestine?
So there is a major argument in Israel where people are becoming very, I would say, pressurized by, or I would say nervous, seeing the opinions and the way the British government is leading this discourse by blaming Israel constantly without understanding the moral clarity that is necessary, because we are fighting Hamas, which is a jihadist terror organization of the worst kind. So Prime Minister Starmer made a statement about it with me, and also made a statement about the fight with Iran and its nuclear program. We respect that. But to blame Israel because, in my mind, it serves certain political narratives on the left is a huge mistake, because in the end, when you judge it closely and clearly, when you judge the situation, you understand that what we are doing is protecting the national security interests of Great Britain as well. And that is why we insist that our position is clear. We know when we make mistakes. We know how to admit them, but really, truly, there must be an open and frank dialogue on this issue and not a blame game, blaming Israel all the time.
This government shortly, it looks like, about to recognise the state of Palestine. Should they? And also in Parliament, MPs say that you're committing genocide in Gaza. What do you say to them?
That both allegations or steps are absolutely wrong and unacceptable. First and foremost, we are operating according to international law when we go in to defend ourselves from missiles in people's homes, mosques, shops, tunnels, living rooms, what's not. That's what we find in Gaza, a horrendous situation of a huge terror machine that was built down under throughout the years. And second, I reject, and I say it on behalf of the position of Israel, we reject the idea of a unilateral declaration of recognizing a Palestinian state because it's dangerous, it will flare up emotions, it won't bring out any hostage, and we won't help any Palestinian. On the contrary, I demand from world leaders, including the British government, to stand firm together and say to Hamas, we won't talk to any Palestinian, any one of you, until you release the hostages. They'll see that it may work better.
Mr. President, I have a quick question for you, if we could. Do you think that not only Keir Starmer, President Macron and other world leaders are rewarding terrorism if they go for a two-state solution?
So I said time and time again that it will be perceived as a reward to terror, and I also said that it's impossible that people will think that because we have an argument on positions between friendly governments, you are kind of punishing us on this by this step. We think it's not the right step, and we should move forward. We should move forward on regional peace. We should move forward on a dialogue with our Palestinian neighbors. But that's after the hostages are out, the war is over, and Hamas is removed.
OK, thank you very much for joining us today on GB News.
It was a great pleasure.
Visiting us here in the studio. Thanks for your trip to the UK. President Isaac Herzog, pleasure to have your company. And thank you to you, Chris Hoke. So it's been a huge day in news today. The latest on the Charlie Kirk assassination will be continued in the next show with Michelle Dewberry. Jubes & Co. is up next. Of course, Nigel Farage back tonight at 7 p.m. I'll be back tomorrow from 3 p.m, 3 till 6 p.m. You've been with me, Martin Daubney, here on GB News. Have a fantastic evening. Stay tuned. But first, here's your weather forecast.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Afternoon. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It's more of the same for the next few days. There'll be some sunshine, but there will also be plenty of heavy showers around before some heavy rain and strong winds spread across the country on Sunday. Quite wet and windy today across the northwest of Scotland. The wet weather continuing here. Elsewhere, the showers have been more off and on, but we'll keep some feeding into western parts through the night. Much of the Midlands and eastern England will become dry overnight with lengthy clear spells. The wind's easing just a touch as well, which will allow those temperatures to dip down into single figures. A fresh start to Friday across the Midlands and east